Well, there you go, that's worked. Right, we're on YouTube.
Good evening, YouTube.
And we're on Facebook as well, I think. Nearly. Yeah, we're on Facebook. Well, we've all got new clothes apart from Phil.
Yeah.
Although, Phil,
Had I got the memo?
but I know, but in fairness, I've not paid for my shirt, so he's not paid for his. So.
Oh, that's a bit harsh,
It's
Rich.
true, isn't it?
I'm back mates again with Big Mal. You know, I've got my Gold Coast Titans t-shirt.
He sent you a t-shirt of the worst team in the NRL.
It's a new era, it's a new dawn. Eh?
Justin Holbrook will be saying, oh look, he supported me already, and I even got there yet.
Holbrook winning in the Scorefield. What a package! What a package, boy.
You're just hoping, aren't you, he's going to take you in.
What a package. Go there as a Rugby League consultant. Is that what they're saying
Well,
nowadays?
that's what matters, isn't it?
Is that what they're saying nowadays?
Do they need two consultants? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm Nigeria,
Well,
so we're talking about that later.
Very important that you should be wearing a Nigerian shirt this of all weeks.
Well, exactly. That's what people are going to be saying. When we talk about that later. Mark's not here because he's stuck in France, isn't he?
Unavoidably detained.
Bloody air traffic control. See, that's why you know, Boris, sorry, he's too busy these days. None of that.
I think it's more to do with the 6 bottles of pastis that he probably drank last night.
You like the idea now that, of course, we've got to this point in the season where, well, they didn't expect it, did they? They thought, Toronto, they're gonna win this one. That's gonna be all right. And now Featherstone Rovers have turned up. Some pit village run out of pit, and they might be in Super League next year. Do we have postcode area taking over? So much so even Bradford wanted to move there. It's 4020 live. We went on slightly early because we're not bothered. We do whatever we want. I'll get the because I know Scott's got something to mention. I'll get the housekeeping out of the way. Tonga shirts. You remember Tonga? They were good. Relive the days.
They used
of the
to
World
play.
Cup.
They used to play.
Relive the days of the World Cup
Yeah.
by getting hold of one of their shirts. And the good people at Mascot Browns, and you can get £8 off using the code. I don't know how you pronounce it. Seems to Ma. I don't know.
Mate Mar.
MATEMAA. It's like the countdown conundrum. So yeah, Mascot Browns.
Too many vowels.
£8 off a Tonga shirt with that
Yes.
until midnight tonight, if I remember what time it is. Before we get into the meat and drink of all the exciting Rugby League action, Scott, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, thanks, Rich, and as I say, Phil, good evening, mate. I'm feeling okay tonight.
We're good tonight.
Yeah, we're all saying no little
Back
rotten
to
germs
full
about
fitness.
somewhere. We're back to full
I'm
fitness.
a little rotten germ, but that's neither here nor there.
No, I didn't mean that one little bit. And we're not going to get rid of Tim, but first of all, I just want to give a big shout out. I was at Huddersfield on Saturday, and it was at an amateur Rugby League club, Almondbury Spartans, and they're in the Premier League, and they've got two sides, first team and second team. They've got around about 36, 38 players. Obviously, they're like a few more, don't worry about that, but also as well, they've bought a new facility there at Almondbury. It's an old cricket place from there. They're doing it all up, and now they're looking to get a junior section started from there. So the enthusiasm of the chairman in Craig Morgan, and also to all the people who were there, you know, the volunteers and what have you, absolutely sensational. And certainly the purpose, what they're showing, and the desire to make that a success, you know, it's going to be great for them. So Almondbury Spartans, if there's any kids around that area from there, from 7 upwards, so around about 15, 16, get yourself down there, send some inquiries, because one thing for sure, the enthusiasm what they're all showing, they want to get Rugby League, they want to make sure they get the kids off the street, they want to get them off the sofas and out of bed and off the computers. Rugby League's the name of the game, and I say well done to Craig and all the volunteers from there. I'm sure it's going to be a great success.
And they designed a lovely shirt for you, which incorporated all the teams you played.
Yeah, it's quite nice actually. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it's very good.
Raise a few quid, hopefully.
And I've had a few made, and I'm looking to sell them, to be honest with you, because you know, as everybody knows, I lost my wife 20 years ago with breast cancer, and all the donations go to St James for. But anyway, that's another story from there. And I just want to say thanks to the respect what they showed me on Saturday. Opened it officially was there. But the thing about it, the British weather again, it was absolutely steaming down. It was steaming down, but what with the show, it didn't stop the enthusiasm from there. I was there for around about 4 hours, and I tell you, they're going to be a huge success. All the youngsters around the area, get yourself down there, and you'll be well looked after.
I think the other thing that we've mentioned as well is it's all very well talking about what may or may not happen with promotion and what Super League might look like next year and what the plan is for the championship. But unless you support the grassroots,
you got to do.
There is nothing. It starts at places like Almondbury, and if you can get more kids involved at a new club, well, you know, a developing club
Absolutely,
like that.
absolutely. Of course,
That's what's going to save us.
as we all know everywhere now. You know, and they say we're talking about our greatest game of all, Rugby League from there. But you know, all the kids that just sat at home and not doing, they're not doing that. Let's give them something. Let's give them a variation. Let's give them a different option, rather than sitting at home and playing on their apps and playing on the phones and playing on the computers. And as I said, you know, what I saw there on Saturday, they are enthusiastic and they want the juniors to come from there. It's a good facility. It's only going to improve. And I say well done to everybody.
And the other thing that I would say, because we were discussing this with the community club that I'm involved in this week, it can't all be about winning. Because not everybody can win. It's all about giving kids a really good time in the right sort of environment.
Correct.
If you win, that's great. But if you don't, as a kid, you've got to learn to accept defeat with grace, with dignity, but just enjoy it. Number one, enjoy it.
Yeah, but also as well, Phil, can I just remind people out there, stop going on at me then, because I didn't win anything. All right, stop going on at me. Stop taking the mickey out of me because I didn't win anything.
Rather than
Hey, stop taking the mic out of me because I didn't win any winning trophies.
By then, I think you were probably in a different league.
James comments on every video about the mushy pea thing. I'm going to go back because he sent me the timestamp of when you said it. I'm going to go back and find it, but I've been busy, so I haven't been able to do it yet. But we need some content for after the season finishes because it'll be over soon.
We are going on the road.
We are going on the road next week.
Talking of housekeeping.
Next
Tuesday, we're at the is it George V Working Men's Club?
Where were you tweeted the other day? That's where we are.
Castleford. It's 4020 on the road
Are we?
for the Castleford supporters.
Where are we going?
It's George V Working Men's Club.
George V Working. All right, okay. Right, we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, the four of us are going to be grilled by the Castleford Tiger Supporters Club. They always look after us. Pleasure to do it.
Yeah, ahead of the.
Do come along and ask us some questions.
Bumper.
Throw rotten fruit. Anything.
Bumper predictions coming up later because we might as well put the NRL in there as well. And guess which two teams are going to make the women's grand final in a couple of weeks' time. But hello to everyone on Facebook who has joined us already. Usual mob on there. Jason says Wakefield, if I go up, second best city to Sydney for Rugby League. Both have got Opera House, got a bridge. That's about it. I don't know.
Jay McDonald's been on a cruise there.
Yeah, Jay McDonald's. She is currently still Wakefield's most famous resident. We'll talk about the games that have happened this weekend. And we've also, because I mentioned this last week, and now we are at a point in the season where we can discuss it. Way back at the start of the season, we're all at Old Trafford because everything's in Manchester these days. You're moan about this programme being Yorkshire-centric. Everything is held in Manchester. You think they had the officers there or something. And at the Super League launch back in January, probably December last year, we were handed this, New Beginnings, which, much like, of course, coming up we'll have a general election soon, and all the parties will make up things, and then we all have to vote based on them. And then we go, but you haven't done any of those things. I've got Robert Elson's 13-point manifesto, if you will. So we'll discuss that later and see how well he's done at that, along with everything else that's going on in the world of Rugby League. And of course, the exciting news that Leeds are going to make a big signing tomorrow, who we all know it's going to be Luke Gale. So.
Oh, I don't need to go now. I've spoiled it.
I mean, we all know, don't we? Because we've known.
Have you had some inside information, Mr. Shaw?
No.
Have you had some inside info?
Well, kind of, in a sense, not directly, but we all know it. We all know who he is. So it's all. I don't want to be accused of spoiling it.
No. Well, everybody knows, don't they? Everybody knows.
Everyone does. Let's talk about the semi-finals because we are at that stage where we now know one of the teams in the Super League Grand Final, and it will be St Helens. We'll talk about them first because they absolutely obliterated Wigan Warriors on Friday night, 40 points to 10. Would have been even worse if Bevan French hadn't scored with the last kick of the game. But St Helens justifying how good they've been all season. 16 points clear, biggest margin of difference in the history of Rugby League ever, and certainly enjoyed their week off in style.
Yeah, I think that performance on Friday night for St Helens, Holbrook's been there 2 years now, hasn't it? And I think that was the best performance St Helens have put up in his 2 years tenure, to be honest with you. It was absolutely outstanding, and when you was listening to the reports of the build-up to that game, they went to Snowdon, they climbed
mountain climbing,
Snowdon.
Just did some different stuff.
The different stuff, whitewater rafting, and also you can see the purpose of that performance. You know, the way the forwards play from there, how hard and straight and direct they went from there. And But what I noticed in that St Helens performance from 1 to 17, by the way, I like to give people, the players, 8, 7, 8, 9. Some will play crap, they get 3 and 4, as we well know from there. But every St Helens player on Friday night, for me, 1 to 17 would have got a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, all the players would have got. So it's the best performance in Holbrook's tenure while he's been here. But also, I think the big difference is, this St Helens side at this moment in time, we're not talking about pressure. Before the Challenge Cup, James Roby was all about we're not going to be remembered.
Ranked as a great team.
We're not going to be ranked as a great team until we win something. So now they've taken all that added pressure away from us. They know pressure's on because let's not forget, for the last 2 years, St Helens have been the best side easily. But what happened last year, as we all know, turned up against Catalans, they turned them over. Turned up against Warrington, they turned them over. Warrington this year, as we all know, turned them over the Challenge Cup from there. So St Helens now have caught out all. We're not going to put any extra pressure on ourselves. We're going to do things a little differently. Holbrook wanted this week's rest, he said, because they played 33 weeks on the trot.
Yeah.
But when you saw that performance on Friday night, it was a performance of enjoyment. Players literally expressed themselves how they want to play from there. The forwards laid that foundation, as we all know. We all know how well Johnny Lomax and Escari's playing from there. The speed in the backs, absolutely complimentary. Well-balanced performance from there. I've got to say about Wigan, if I'm honest with you, from there, after 10 minutes they turned it in.
They certainly knew that they had a game to play.
The reason I'm going to say, Phil, they turned it in from a point of view, I'm not saying they give up, but they turned it in on the knowledge, as we know, they've got another week's preparation to play Salford, as they knew from the night before from there. Because a Wigan forward pack is never ever battered like it was last Friday night. So Wigan themselves, they knew they had a second chance. They were getting ready for the Salford the week after. But St Helens, from a point of view, loved the week off, loved the performance. They're not putting any pressure on themselves. And I'll tell you what, boy oh boy, if they prepare for this grand final like they did, this semi-final in a relaxed way, where they're all going to enjoy it. Not because what I say about pressure, what you've got to do, you've got to enjoy pressure. And I think St Helens now, they're not talking about it, they're enjoying it.
I thought that opening 15-20 minutes was as good as anything we've seen.
It was like when they played Salford in the season. Remember when they blitzed them in the first 12-15 minutes?
But it was speed.
Yeah.
Everything was speed. The forwards were getting to the advantage line. Some beautiful footwork to get through it, but quick play the balls. The guy who I accept, and you've schooled me that stats don't mean anything. They can let you say what they want to say. I thought there was a significant stat with Tommy Makinson. Because Makinson, we're used to playing on the wing, scoring spectacular tries, being the leading try scorer in Super League. He's a superstar for doing that. But they had this way of playing whereby the forwards took the first couple of drives, he took the third, up the middle. He made over 220 metres. Now, to do that without having a running chance, normally you make 220 metres, you've intercepted a ball, gone the length of the field, or somebody's released you near your own line and you've made a long break down the touchline. That was all done through the middle. And it put Saints on the front foot right from the very beginning. And that mixture of, we've got the physical, how do we hold Luke Thompson, and now how do we deal with the speed of Tommy Makinson? That balance that they had for that opening 20 minutes when they effectively blew Wigan away was just something no other team can do.
Well, you just mentioned that word again, Phil. We mentioned it quite a few times on the show, that word balance. They are a very, very well balanced side, and I'm sure we're going to talk about Salford as well, but it's like Salford. They're a well balanced side. What St Helens and Salford do is quite simple. The players themselves know the jobs as individuals, and then they're coming together as a team collectively. Nobody tries to step on anybody's toes from there, and that's what makes it work.
I think they asked Johnny Lomax, who clearly has had his best season, possibly ever, in terms of personal performance. What was the secret of Justin Holbrook coming in and the turnaround in his form? And he said, it's not just that he simplified everything. But he said to me, you're trying to do everybody else's job. What I want you to do this year is just enjoy doing your job.
Absolutely, do your own job.
And again, after that opening blitz, Lomax just took control.
As I keep saying about halfbacks, Phil, they don't need to be involved in every set of six. They don't need to be involved for 5 or 6 minutes. Just plot around, have a look what's going on, and that's a big difference what we're seeing with Johnny Lomax. He doesn't need to be involved in every set of six. He doesn't need to be organising and pass the ball, plotting around, and when he comes into it, he comes up with that champion play.
Because
if they're not scoring tries, he's literally putting the opposition on the back foot by being smart in everything what he's doing.
I also think the guy, we mentioned it before, but the guys coming off the bench are adding to. So there's no drop in intensity. And even somebody like Kyle Amor, who looked as though his career might
Big
have been
Lewis
over.
I didn't know. I didn't know he had a sidestep like that.
Louis almost came off as auxiliary prop, and he did 50 straight minutes. But the impact that he made and the lift that he gave to the team, Wigan couldn't live with that. Now that's not to say that Saints are unbeatable. We've seen it on a number of occasions where a team will easily win a semi-final. They'll meet the same opposition or somebody else in the final, and they'll lose. So it's not a given that Saints are going to win it. But if they play to the level of intensity and speed that they did last Friday night, who can live with them?
Tony Clubb.
No, he can't.
Will he be playing this week? Because we don't know yet, because at the time of recording, or if you're watching live, this buddy's not up on the Rugby League website yet.
I think it's more to do with the lack of meters that the Wigan forwards made, whether Tony Clubb plays or not. The Sam Powell was clearly injured, that affected them. But again, stats say whatever you want them to say, but the combined Wigan forwards wasn't. I don't think they added up in total to what Luke Thompson.
No, but also you look at Saints' defensive line as well, not just moving up as one as it's supposed to do. Certainly when they talk about the A, B, C, D, E, F, G defenders around that ruck area, from there, what about the line speed? The line speed was sensational, not just from the first minute to the last minute as well. They wanted to making sure that they kept Wigan literally as least possible points from there. But Saints, are they beatable? Well, one thing for sure, on that form and on that design and purpose, and certainly everybody doing their job as an individual and then coming as a team collectively, it's going to be very tough. It's going to take one hell of a performance from either Salford or Wigan, and it's going to take a mighty 80-minute performance to beat Saints.
Tim has asked, Saints ate up the yards by taking the ball at pace close to the advantage line. Why don't more sides do that?
Well, do you know what? The great quote what I heard, and Phil's just mentioned it as well, is that, you know what, Rugby League is a basic, simple game. And Saints say, they're going back to the simplicity of the game. Well, it's quite simple. Forwards run hard and straight and direct, and the halfbacks play for the back of that. You know, there's nothing, no fancy. And the great thing about what I see with St Helens as well is that I'm not seeing too many forwards being dropped off by a halfback going across the field, getting lined up and getting smashed. The forwards are coming from deep. They're going hard, straight and direct, good footwork from there, simplicity, making hard yards, looking for the quick play of the ball, and that's what the backs are playing off. It's quite simple. I
think the other thing they've got, and they had the luxury of being able to withdraw it before the end, is they've got a hooker that can bring people on right at the advantage line. It's what Cameron Smith does so well for Melbourne. James Roby does it for St Helens. I think when you combine the youthful energy of the pack with the fact that they've got guys on the bench that can come and supplement that. I thought Ashworth was great this week off the bench.
When he came off the bench,
but they've got a hooker that knows when and where to pass the ball for maximum advantage.
Also as well, what I noticed with Roby which I think he's brought into his game this season, and Lomax himself, and I keep harping on about halfbacks, certainly the ones who get caught around the ruck area. Jake Schuman's terrible for it. He was absolutely clueless himself on Thursday because he was just literally too close. At times he was holding hands with Paul McShane. But what Roby has brought into his game is that width of his pass.
Yeah.
The great thing what I'm saying about Johnny Lomax, what I'm liking about Lomax is when he does get to first man fill, it's 20 metres away.
Yeah. That
is absolutely the way. Halfback should be playing from there, getting away from that ruck area. And if anybody wants, if them forwards on the inside want to come back in, he can look on the back on the inside to Lack and Coop and get the defenders there. But Roby is making the right decisions all the time, whether to scoop, short pass, different pass from a point of view. But then when Lomax is 20 metres away, lovely service, great play.
And it's options.
Absolutely.
They've got more options than any other team. And it is a simple game, but it's only simple if you do it.
What about that pass he put to Luke Thompson? You know, behind the dummy runner from there. That was brilliant.
Well,
great vision again.
Every Wigan player went for the wrong man.
Went for the dummy runner. Yeah, but great vision.
And the dummy runner did his job by going through the line. But the hole that was created, it still needed the perfect pass to put in the hole.
And how wide was it away from the dummy half area? Brilliant play.
Thompson knew it was coming. It wasn't an accidental play.
No, absolutely. But Roby, you know, he's up there with the best. There's no two ways about that. But he's going to take an almighty effort, as we know with Salford Wigan the week after. The mood what Saints are in, they're relaxed. They're not talking about pressure. They're not talking about being compared to a great side.
They were under pressure in that opening 10 or 15 minutes. They just went, we know what we can do.
Yeah.
We've had a week off. If we start with intensity, whoever we're playing won't live with us. And Wigan just went...
I tell you what, how tall is Snowdonia? Because we didn't look tired. How tall is it? What is it, about 3,000 metres or something? How tall is it?
Yeah, it's one of the tallest. I don't. What they're going to do now? Just do Ben Nevis, on the day off.
Camp out in Balal for 3 nights. See how they go about that. That'll toughen them up. Camp out in Balal Circus.
Well, it'll certainly improve their speed.
If
When everybody else
they
comes
put
along
some pressure on, just camp out with Bilal for 3 nights on Bilal Circus.
Littleton is off to the NRL, isn't he? Probably.
Well, I wouldn't be
No,
surprised.
you wouldn't be surprised.
Well,
Wouldn't
that
you, to be
was
honest with you? Wouldn't be surprised. But no, they were sensational. Brilliant. They were a pleasure to watch. They were absolute pleasure to watch.
So we're taking nothing away from Saints, but Wigan did not really turn up. And now they have to turn up on Friday against a team who obviously they beat last week. But
The one thing about Wigan is they know and can do what they have to do to get to the grand final.
Absolutely.
That even though they might have been a little bit embarrassed by the margin of that scoreline, it won't affect them for this week. And I think Adrian Lamb was straight away saying afterwards, we've got to put this one to bed.
Yeah.
It's all he has to do. They know what they've got to do to beat Salford. They've beaten Salford last week. They know the style that they're going to have to play, how they approach that game, won't have any bearing on what happened this week.
Correct.
Now, whether they're good enough to do it, I think we obviously will talk about Salford's contribution this weekend. But I don't think Wigan are damaged by that result. They know precisely what they have to do. And if they were to play Saints again in the grand final, it would be a different sort of game. But there was a huge disparity in quality between first and second this week.
Well, when they talk about a wounded warrior, yeah, but I've got to agree with you again from a point of view where Adrian Lamb and the players have been simple in that performance on Friday. Forget about it, it's going in the filing cabinet, and that filing cabinet's a bin. Nothing whatsoever to come out of that performance from there. As we know what's in Wigan's DNA, they know exactly what it takes to get to Old Trafford. They know exactly what it takes to win a semi-final when the pressure is on. Because hey, listen, let's not forget here, Wigan are the holders.
Yeah.
So they don't want to give up this trophy lightly. I can reassure you. And they're saying against as the so-called minnows in Salford. We all know how well Salford played 2 weeks ago from there. So they know exactly what they're going to come up against. They know they're coming up against the best player in Super League so far in Jackson Hastings. But I would imagine Ian Watson has got something up his sleeve, a little bit different, because variation is going to be the name of the game from there. So I reckon, and you pointed out as well, I think last week, Phil, with Josh Jones, the defenders doubled up on him. Josh Jones at times, he comes from second man out back on the dropper from there. So I would imagine maybe Josh Jones, rather than playing on the left-hand side, might play on the right-hand side where he may be coming hard and straight and direct. So Ian Watson will have a different sort of game plan to come up against Wigan. They were unlucky 2 weeks ago from there.
Yeah.
But Wigan, it's in their DNA. They know what it's about this time of the year. They're the holders. Tell you what, can't wait for it.
I think Salford will acknowledge that where they couldn't quite do it the first time they played Wigan was scoring early. They had all the opportunities in that first 20 minutes, but they couldn't fashion a way to get ahead.
Yeah.
I think the only way they need to change what they did that night, because they finished strongly, is just to make sure that if they start as well as that, they get a reward for it. Because I think if there's any psychological damage been inflicted on Wigan this week, it's if they go behind. Because then they've got to perhaps change the way they want to play rather than suffocate the opposition and hold on and take a chance. That if they were forced to play because they were behind, that's not natural to them.
Well, after the last game, Ian Watson, and I said it myself, forget about the experience. I've got the experience now. That won't be an issue Friday night. They just weren't smart enough at the time.
Yeah.
So on Friday night, they were patient enough when they played there 2 weeks ago that they weren't smart enough at important times. So that's going to be the big thing for Salford on
But
Friday
against Cass, they did all the damage early on.
Yeah, they did.
So once they were
They did.
14-0 up, it didn't matter that it finished 22.
Right.
They'd won that game.
They've done that, but still,
And they need to do that against Wigan.
But if it doesn't happen, though, Phil, they're going to still have some momentum.
Yeah.
So they're still going to have to be patient, but smart at times, rather than maybe going for that final pass or maybe going for that clever pass or a little flick play and what have you. Just be smart, just build that little bit of extra pressure, maybe get another set
But
of
if
six,
you
get
get
2
a
sets of
chance,
6.
you have to take
I
it.
understand
And
that.
that's what they didn't do. Because they did make chances.
Yeah,
but they didn't take the right
make
option.
chances. But again, in vital time, they weren't smart enough. They tried to push it a little bit. I can't wait for it.
I'm a bit concerned Andy is trying to watch us on his phone and he can't get the sound working. Now, unfortunately, we don't know any IT experts. We understand the Prime Minister does, so if you want to get in touch with him, Andy, he'll probably ought to sort you out. Jackson Hastings, who may well be the Man of Steel by the time you watch this programme next week. I'm not going to ask who he thinks he's going to be the Man of Steel because it's unfair, he's on the panel, but we'll ask him that next week. He says, and Jackson Hastings, is the Rugby League Writers and Broadcast Association Player of the Year. When I put my vote in, I wrote one name down first, and then I changed it and put Jackson Hastings, and the other name I put down was the man he said should be the man of steel in Johnny Lomax. It's difficult to tear the two apart. I chose Hastings on the fact that he has, and Salford are a team, don't get me wrong, but he's the focal point of everything that has been good about the season that Salford has had, because all the credit goes to the halfbacks, as we know, never to the people who do all the hard work.
I think that Hastings' contribution has been more than what he's done on the field, and that, for me, that interview where he said, I look up to Johnny Lomax and I wish I had the skill set that he had, and he's been the revelation. I just thought that was he's got this ability to say exactly the right thing. He's such a fantastic ambassador, not just for the sport and the club that he plays for, but again, you know, we talk about, and we'll come on to what Robert Elston hoped the season would achieve by way of promoting personalities. Jackson Hastings has more to promote this sport this season than anybody else, and Warrington have had some very clever promotions, and every club's tried to raise their game digitally, but what Jackson Hastings has done, the way he's gone about meeting people and you know, giving away his boots and spending time with all the fans, and the number of fans of other clubs that have tweeted him saying you're an inspiration. I just think we owe him a huge debt.
I think what Jackson's done though, Phil, he's learned a hell of a lot, has he, from his days in the NRL. We all know with the misdemeanors, and I'm not going to harp on about that. So what Jackson has realised is that, you know, I've got some talent here, I've got some ability. Salford have given that opportunity from there, and he's realised, why am I wasting this? Why am I wasting this? You know, whether it's through drink or whatever from there. But I'll tell you what, the kid has been a credit not just to himself, not just to the Salford club, but also to the Salford supporters. The respect what he's given them, Salford supporters. We were at Salford last year, me and Matt Wilson, and some fans were saying to us, you know, we can't believe what Jackson Hastings like, what he's like, because all he wants to do is just mix with us, have a couple of beers with us, and have a laugh and a joke. And we don't often see that. The fans were saying from there. What Jackson Hastings has done is let people know what a quality rugby league player is, what a quality person he is off the field from there, but also to the big thing what he's showing to rugby league in general is respect, and it's a credit to him.
I think there was an interview, maybe it might have been with Justin Holbrook, who coached Hastings when he was a 16-year-old. I think when Holbrook was at the Roosters. It might have been one of the other clubs, but they were together when Hastings was coming through. He said more natural talent than anybody, but something happened to him in his teenage years where he became inhibited. He stopped doing that thing that all halfbacks do, that they want to get the ball in their hand and do something with it.
Well, I guess maybe in the NRL,
but Salford has given him that.
Absolutely, the same in the NRL, as we all know, you know, the robots, you can't do this, you've got to do A, B, C, and D.
We've seen a couple of semi-finals this week which are anything.
Oh I fully understand that, but you know, you've got to be ultra disciplined in the NRL. You know, you can't even go to bed without somebody turning the light off for you. You know, this change the light bulbs. That's how strict it is in robotic, I guess, from there. And it didn't suit Jackson Hastings, but you know, but. Tell you what, all right, didn't work out in the NRL, but it certainly worked his Super League from there, and he's been a credit. As I've just said, he's been a credit to himself. He's been a credit to Rugby League, Salford and Salford supporters. But the great thing about what the kid is doing is showing respect to everybody, and that's great.
And that interview that he did about how good Lomax has been this year, that was the ultimate respect. He wasn't saying that because they might be playing St Helens in a final. He said it because you could tell he genuinely believed it.
I tell you what, next year. He's got some books to fill. Kevin Brownlee, Brownie. Hope it works out for you, Kevin. You've got some books to fill. So, but hey, listen, I would imagine Kevin being out all season this year. He's hungry again. He wants to make sure that Salford can keep that consistency where they want to get to. And that halfback. Is Lola here staying at Salford or is he coming back to Leeds?
No, he's
staying at Salford from there. So that's a good halfback combination from there. So hopefully for Kevin, he can carry on with the good work's being done for Jackson Hastings at Salford.
Will we see then, and we'll do the predictions later, so this is kind of giving away the answers already. Will we see that battle in the final then, Hastings versus Lomax?
Before we get to that, because obviously that should be the climax of the programme, what we have got is two great underdog stories, which at this stage of the season, I didn't think we'd have. So Featherstone having, representing the old world against Toronto, the new world. That's a story and a half, and what Featherstone have done to even be in that final. And the Salford story's just got better every week. That teams were falling over themselves not to qualify in the top 5, but Salford made it to 3rd, and so far, You know, we haven't talked in detail about the Salford Cass game. I just thought, again, Cass have got some issues scoring points. We know that, and I'm not sure how if Luke Gale is fit, selling him solves that. They need to go down a different route. They've obviously decided that the money they'll get from selling Luke Gale allows them to go down a different route. But 2 years ago, Cass they had Hardacre out the back, who, if they decided to go that side, was virtually unstoppable. They had Gale patrolling the other way, and people like Eden and Shenton on the other side. They had potency right across the back line.
Yeah.
They scored points for fun. And if they had an Achilles heel, it's perhaps that they didn't defend as well as they attacked. Now we know they can defend, but they can't score points.
Absolutely. But also, so when you look at that, you know, we know Hardacre is misdemeanor from there. He had to go from there. Gailey's not played for 2 years. Shenton, you know, he's been out for most of the season as well. And Greg Eden, you know, he's been in and out of form from there. So when you look at that left-hand side, you know, it's been literally ripped apart, hasn't it, from there, from a point of view. But when we do look at Cass and young Truman, he's got it all. He's got it all. But the big question is for Truman is he needs a halfback partner. Yeah. He needs a halfback to again.
What kind of a halfback partner does he need? Because he clearly is the creative force.
Yes.
So he needs to stand a bit further back and, as you say, the plotting.
Yeah.
So what does he need inside him? Does he need a Danny Richardson, or is he a similar type?
Well,
of
Danny
player?
Richardson is a sort of similar type of player, but what Richardson would bring, he would take the pressure up where he could just get to first man. You know, from there, and just every time Truman starts coming closer, get away from me, get away. I don't want you anywhere near. When you want the ball, when you call for it, you get it, whether it's on the third, fourth or fifth tackle, but you're not coming anywhere near 15, 20 metres down this hook area, because you've got to get a decent kicking game as Richardson from there, if Castleford do sign him. But certainly Truman needs a quality halfback with him. Mortality's not good enough from there. Jordan Rankin's been trying at halfback as well with him. That doesn't help from there. So Truman, to fulfil that potential, he needs a quality halfback. Richardson signing at Cass, I wouldn't have an issue with that whatsoever. I think a good young pair of halfbacks from there, pulling in the same. But as long as
are they complementary?
I'm just going to say that, Phil. As long as they know what roles they are playing, does that make sense? So then Truman is the main man from there, and he will be just stood about plotting them from there. And like with Matt Shane at hooker, if Truman shouts it from 20 metres away, Matt Shane can sling the ball from there. As we're looking at the way that Johnny Lomax has developed his game. And this is what I say about number sixes. They are the main men on the field from there, and let them play with that vision and awareness. But the scrum half, just let him hang around from there. He can organise the forwards, he can be the support player and do the kicking game and take the pressure off. But unless Truman does get a quality number 7 at the side of him, he's not going to fulfil that potential.
Is the trouble and the reason why Cass didn't score a point again this week? The fact that if you identify that Truman, everything's going to go through him because he's the only outlet they've got. If you close him down, which Salford did brilliantly.
Yeah, but Phil,
what else have Cass got?
No, but Phil, he was literally first man all the time.
He made it easy for
him.
Because he didn't vary what he was doing.
Because he's not giving himself time. He's not giving himself space. Like that first time, you know, he got pushed out to the, onto the wing, and then the next time he got a pass, he got his hand switch. So I say, if you get your hand switch, you catch it, and he dropped that. He's just putting extra pressure on himself on there, and it's not necessary. This is what he needs. Does he need an experienced halfback? You would say so, but Richardson's now been playing for 2 years in a quality side.
So Richie Myler in a swap to Cass?
No, Phil, no, leave that alone, son. Leave that alone.
Why not?
So it was worth it.
Leave
Worth
that
a
alone.
punt.
Well, I'll tell you what, they might as well play me with Truman then. There you go.
But could somebody like him give the service that Truman needs? That your job is to give Truman the service, to protect him, to support, and to give him the pass. Because Richie and I can clearly pass him.
Well, yeah, he can clearly pass, and he's got a nice decent kick game. He's a support player.
I'm not saying that we're going to find out tomorrow that there's been a swap deal. But,
apparently out there right now is, according to some people, the world's greatest rugby league player, because Wakefield fans have keep crying about it, which is Ryan Hampshire. Now, amazingly, despite the fact he is the world's greatest rugby league player, according to some, he's not been picked up yet.
Can I ask a question?
You can ask a question.
Can I?
Well, I like the answer. I don't know.
Ask a question to you, Richie. Ryan Hampshire.
Yeah.
By all accounts, off a 2-year deal. Good money by all accounts.
Well,
he wanted.
It's all scuttlebutt.
Well, yeah, but he wanted so and so, and now, because everybody, I think, realised in the game that he's an okay player. To be honest with you, he's an okay player. You know, and for me, the 2-year deal what Wakefield offered him, he should have signed it. He should have photocopied the contract and signed it again to make sure it was doubly done from there. And now he's going to find himself in the wilderness because
or he's going to end up going to a club that he isn't quite as passionate about.
Yeah.
Wakefield is.
Yeah, and he's going to get the money.
And he's going to get less
yeah,
money.
He's going to get
because everybody will know what he's been offered by Wakefield.
Well, exactly. Everybody knows, and everybody knows what money he was asking for. So whether his agent, I tell you what, you've totally made an absolute toss of this one, and he's going to find himself out of the game.
I'm
He's
sure
going to find it. He is.
He's got the perfect opportunity to tell us every week, hasn't he, about how great he is. I would say I've got no idea what the figures are involved. I've got no idea how much anyone gets paid at Wakefield. And to be honest, I'm not really interested. All I'm interested in is that the club stays afloat. And I've seen too many times in the past okay players and good players given too much money and then the club goes bust. I'd rather, I'm all
prudent.
Yeah.
But also as well, even still now, Ryan Hampshire, he still hasn't got a position where he's playing week in and week out.
Well, there's either a good thing or a bad thing, isn't it?
You're either overly versatile or you don't nail down a and then you become an expensive luxury.
Correct. All the clubs don't trust you to be, if he wants to play full-back or he wants to play 6 or 7 or whatever, they don't trust you. Simple as that.
I don't know what goes on. I can only read what I read on social media.
Well, I'll tell you what,
but I've got a feeling he's been very badly advised.
Well, we've had
various
Hey Richie, would be for sure. If I were at Hampshire's agent, I'd have been saying, hey, get that signed now. Get that signed because nobody else is going to give you it. Nobody else. And, Chris Chester seems to like him, so he seems to be playing week.
It's the club he wants to play.
He loves Wakefield. He said that, when he scored the 2 tries, A, B, C and D, but I'm sorry he's become Billy Big Crystals. He's got too big for himself, and now he's finding himself in the wilderness. Simple as that.
Season's finished now, so we can talk about things that we heard during the season that we couldn't necessarily talk about at the time, because everything's finished, everything's in the books, and everything's written down. I don't think Ryan Hampshire with Wakefield's top try scorer had Tom Johnston not got injured.
True.
Or Bill Tupu. I don't think how long ago it was. It was one Wakefield in their slump, but not quite in the slump that it became. The big rumour was, and I think it was in the papers, wasn't he? He was off to Huddersfield in a swap deal on loan with Oliver Roberts, I think it was, wasn't he? Then Danny Brook broke his thumb, so Wakefield needed Ryan Hampshire. So it's a mystery.
And now Huddersfield don't want him.
Well, they'll know what they're prepared to pay for it.
It's a cost,
and it might be what.
Oh, it'd be a lot more. Sorry, a lot less. A lot less than what Wakefield said. Yeah, it's a 2-year deal, and it'd be a lot less than what that deal, what Wakefield offered him. Don't worry about that. Okiano said no, they don't want him.
But the fact of everything is, it doesn't matter how much a player loves a club, it's irrelevant. You ain't going to go forget Leeds anymore, are you, Scott?
Oh, does he? Well, I don't Leeds Rugby League club, they're not going to give me a job. I think it doesn't work that way, does it?
I'd rather have, speaking with a supporter hat on, I'd rather have a team of, well, look at Salford, right? Jackson Hastings. They knew when they signed Jackson Hastings, he's not going to be there for 20 years, is he? He's not going to be there for 10 years. He's probably going to be there for 5, he's there for 10.
They did well to get the second year out of him, and he showed a great deal of loyalty because he could quite easily have gone at the beginning of this year because there were suitors after him.
Would you rather have 2 years of a very good player or 10 years of average?
Yeah. Everything what Jackson Hastings has done, both on and off the field, is that word again, being very smart.
Well, I think that, again, we'll wait and see if Leeds do unveil Luke Gale. Sorry, when Leeds do it. One of the, I mean, clearly he has to have passed a pretty stringent medical, otherwise But one of the things he can bring, apart from the fact that I think there is there's a big deal of unfinished business, and I think Leeds want players at the moment that have got something to play for. So I get that. But the big thing is, can he be the mentor for Callum McClelland? Because they're in the same stable. Gale has set up his grassroots, going around trying to train halfbacks, and it's something that Danny Maguire's very passionate about now that he's finished. He wants to develop the next generation. Is it a good move from a Leeds point of view that they've got another kid just behind him who, if he spends a couple of years being mentored by Luke Gale, could be their answer for the next 10 or 15 years?
Well, I watched McClelland yesterday for Featherstone, and his kicking game's okay. It's like a lot of the halfbacks' kicking game's all right. Oliver Russell's all right. The other player at Huddersfield, the halfback, Tom Holmes. They've got a decent kicking game. But again, what were disappointing me in McClelland was he's not going to the line. He's not looking to put people through gaps. He's going across the field and dropping off. That is not creativity, because all the opposition are doing is just lining up the forwards there and just getting absolutely bashed. So my first thing for Callum would be, get yourself away from that ruck area. stand yourself a little bit deeper and give yourself a bit of time. Give yourself a bit of time, and then when you've got the ball in hand, you've got to put the defenders in three different minds. I.e., you go to the line, if they don't tackle you, you go through it. You hit the lead runner or you hit the back runner there. So you're putting the defences in three minds. You're not putting defences in three minds if you're going that way. If you're going that way, you are. If you're going that way, no, you're not. So I was disappointed when I saw him from a creativity point of view. But he'll learn that. He'll learn that.
Will he learn it quickly under Luke Gale?
Well, he needs to be playing. He needs to be playing, doesn't he? You know, but also as well, if he's getting shipped out to Featherstone, whoever the new coach is going to be, I don't know about James Webster being coach at Featherstone.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Out from there, very, very interesting, to be honest with you. You know, he may not want him to play that way, so it's an interesting factor.
We've got reserve grade back, and he's of an age where would he be better playing in the reserves under a system, being monitored at every training session, every game, rather than go out to another club? Is that going to be the advantage of bringing back a reserve grade, that somebody who is 20 years old wears the shirt, learns to play the way that club wants?
The situation with McLaren now is he'd be thinking it's too good to be playing 18 football. He wants to play first.
We don't know what standard 18 is.
Well, absolutely we don't know that, do we? So, but I would imagine his philosophy will be, you know, I'm too good for 18 football now. I need to be playing first team football. If he has to be loaned out again to Featherstone, but sober. But I'd like to see him more running more with the ball with hand, because
is it a 6 or a 7 now? Because obviously Dane Chisholm does that very well at Featherstone at the moment, and it's Chisholm that's calling the shots. And he had another great game.
Yeah, well, he's
so
a 7.
McClellan,
you know,
trying to give Chisholm the service?
Well, that's what he should be doing, because he's experienced playing, and he's a better player, and he's a better player, Phil. But also as well, when I talk about halfbacks, Jackson Ace doesn't wait till the last tackle to kick the ball. Jackson Ace is a quality player, like all quality halfbacks are, because they're going to the line with ball in hand. With ball in hand. That's what Johnny Lomax, how good is he now with ball in hand? Morgan Escary as well with ball in hand. That's the way you are going to be a quality halfback, not waiting until the last tackle to kick the bloody ball. You know, and at times the kicks are rubbish anyway, to be honest with you. You know, so start getting involved on the 3rd and 4th and 5th tackle with ball in hand, with the creativity, and don't be going across the field and dropping off. Have a look, go to the line and start putting the defensive lines in 3 different minds.
You instigated a couple of weeks ago that when a team's season came to an end, we needed to rate them out of 10. So we did Warrington last week. It's Cass this week. Darryl was quite rightly very bullish going into the playoffs. You know, we think we can be the dark horses that nobody's talking about.
I believe that as well myself.
We think we're in the right sort of form.
Yeah.
We've got some players back. And how do you reckon their season's gone? They made the 5, but should they have gone further?
And to be honest with you, did I predict they would make the 5? No, I didn't. To be honest with you, I think I had them 6 or 7 from there. So it was an achievement to get into the 5 there. As we know, Junior Moores as well, been missing for a while from there, as well as Gale, Michael Shetty. But no, still a disappointment, still a massive disappointment. You know, from where Cass were in 17, the grand final to appearance, League Leaders Shield last year again made the 5, and Darryl fancied it this year. So I think overall, from a point of view, it is a disappointing season for Cass. The Challenge Cup, they didn't get very far from there. So if I'm honest with you, I think it's going to be a 5 out of 10. If I'm honest, Phil. Yeah.
I'd probably, because of the mitigation of injuries, I know every team has injuries, but I think there are certain teams that start off with the season and lose a couple of star names and never really recover from that. I think at one point they had 10 or 11 out for a significant amount of time, and that does test your depth. And I think that some of that squad has been found wanting in terms of quality, that they might have more numbers than they've had in the past, but I'm not sure that when they've got the top line players out, they've been able to bring in others who have contributed. I'd probably give them a 6 or a 7 on that basis, that there is a reason for it. And
you're saying that because we're going to Cass next week. That's why you're saying that, Mr.
Just got to get that.
I wore a shirt last week. I think I give them a 6.
Because we're going to Cass next week, yeah.
I think I give them a 6 as well, because they have done better than I thought.
Oh, hey, because you had a Cass shirt on last week. Geez, I'm going to get ripped into next week and giving them a 5 out of 10, aren't I?
You won't be going out. You'll be getting in. You won't be going out.
We've got some transfer news and transfer gossip. First of all, news. Harvey Levesque has signed for Hull KR on loan for a year from Warrington. We need to talk about Warrington.
Signed a new contract with Warrington, but he's going on loan.
His transfer gossip from Rommel Saints. Rumour in St Helens, this is the scuttlebutt over there, of the Billings lump, is that Danny Richardson to Castle is in a swap for Mike McMeekan. Going Tullaway. Interesting. Warrington fan Toby, coming for you, Toby, in a minute. Not you, your club. About Luke Gale, who, if you've just joined us, allegedly, Leeds are making a big announcement tomorrow.
12 o'clock
tomorrow. Big unveiling.
Bound to be on the YouTube channel.
They're not signing something for Yorkshire Carnegie, are they? That's an interesting story developing as well. You should look into that one, people. If we're being honest, says Toby, Gale is not a major signing. Must be underwhelming for Leeds fans seeing a player that's been sat on the bench for 2 years and the wrong side of 30s being considered major.
Well, to be honest with you, it's a fair point, isn't it? You know, he has been out for 2 years. He has had 2 massive injuries, i.e. the knee problem and also 2 then snapped.
2 injuries, it's really hard to come back from.
Yeah, absolutely massive. And what age is Luke now? Is he 32? 31, 32 next from there. So, yeah, it is a risk. There's no two ways about it. But one thing the sure Leeds would have done, you know, they would have given the most strictest and sternest medical. They would have had the biggest and best people giving him that medical from there to making sure they're not signing a dud, to making sure they are not signing, somebody who in the first training session or 2 weeks into pre-season training, the leg's going to go again. But anyway, we don't know that, do we? It could happen to anybody, couldn't it? You know,
Luke's been saying for a few weeks that he thinks he's fit.
He trained last week with Cass, you know.
He's been involved in the match day preparations. But there's a reason why he couldn't play for Cass this year, because they got a dispensation for him, and Part used that to get Jordan Rankin in. So I think that there were economic reasons why he perhaps couldn't play for Cass. So you'd assume he probably is fit. If he's been training with the team up to match day, you've got to be at a certain level of fitness. I just think it's more to do with, there's all this talk about getting the right culture, whatever that means, and that Luke Gale is coming home with a point to prove that he didn't get the chance at Leeds when he was a kid, which he wouldn't have done because Burrow and Maguire were never injured. So he's moved on, reinvented himself, and to his credit, dropped down to Doncaster and then went to London, Bradford. Yeah, he's done everything right to become the England. We shouldn't forget, 2017 World Cup, it was the England scrum half.
On his day, still the best scrum half in Super League.
So I don't think there's a risk. I think it is a big signing in that there aren't too many English-based half-backs that come on the market. It's whether he can recapture the form of 2017.
Pleased to say, by the way, there's more people watching us on YouTube now than are in the stadium in Doha to watch the Athletics. That's good news.
What's 6?
By the way, as well, can I just mention with Salford as well, because I found it absolutely fascinating, and I would applaud it myself. Robert Louis went back there on Thursday with his kids, and you know what? The Salford fans were absolutely sensational. You know, they took him on the pitch after from there, introduced. He went on there with the kids, and the respect what the Salford fans gave Robert Louis was brilliant to see. And I say, well done the Salford fans, for a player who left. But having said that, they got a nice transfer fee as well, so some money in the coffers. Robert Louis gave him good service, but I just felt as though that was very respectful and very professional for what Salford did there for Robert Louis. Which again
comes from Ian Watson, who I thought was brilliant on Sky this week with his analysis, and clearly can get the best out of all of the players that play under him, whether it's his first choice 17 or not. And what we said about Jackson Hastings, there is clearly respect running through that club from the top through the best player. I think it's rubbed off on the majority of the fans. Every club's got fans that will throw a flare on the pitch that needs to be sorted out, no matter what Robert Elston says that we don't have a problem. But Salford's re-emergence, the fact that I think they've already sold well over 1,000 tickets for the game this week. That this is a different Salford to the one we've seen over the last couple of years. And my hope, which is also a slight worry at the moment, is that when they do lose the players that have been their best players this year for next season, Ian Watson will still get a tune out of whoever he brings in. Yeah. But it's almost like starting again. And it would have been great for those Salford fans if Josh Jones had been there next year and Jackson Hastings had been there next year. And they could build rather than start again. And that's what we've got to be wary of.
And I must say, I think it was the Player of the Year, wasn't it, on Thursday night? Jordan Rankin. Do you know as well? Do you know one thing? What he told us as a kid is when you're going down, when you're that left-hand touchline, you have the ball in the in your left-hand side. So you've got this. This is called an handoff, which is called a weapon. He could have quite easily done that, and he had the because when he was going, I was thinking, change the ball. changed the ball plays anyway. He didn't do, but 9 levels. The tackle felt wasn't that rugby league at the best.
Yes.
That has got to be
that
the
was-
moment of Super League
Well,
2019.
that was a game changer
Hasn't
because
it?
you think that if
Absolutely.
Castleford had scored then,
Yeah.
not only have they broken this, we don't know how to score, but they're back in the game
Correct.
mathematically. And it was such a majestic tackle that if that had been in an NRL semi-final, we'd have been seeing clips of that all day, every day.
But if he'd have had the ball here, he could have literally.
Well-
he could have literally. All he could have done, he could have just stopped, and then when it come, nicely use the. You can use it; it's a weapon, you know. But anyway,
But
he did it. It
Evans,
was brilliant.
you say a lot, use the touchline as your friend.
Oh, without a doubt.
He summed that situation up brilliantly,
Yeah.
timed it magnificently, and just at the right moment, the touchline became his ally.
But that's rugby league at its best. That's what
It
rugby
was
league's all about. That's probably the moment.
tackle of the
That's
year.
the moment.
Tackle
That's the
of-
moment for me.
if there was a-
2019.
If there was a tackle of the season,
Yeah,
that's it.
without a doubt.
We should have it at the awards on Sunday.
Well, there's every other award.
Dean
Are you going
says-
to the Man of Steel anyway on Sunday? Are you going?
No, I've been invited.
I do.
Well, we've been invited.
Have you been invited? Yeah, you're
I
going.
do.
Yeah, good.
I'm working. Dean
I
says,
wish it was a black tie, not because
Yeah.
I like
No,
putting on a
I
black.
fully
I just
agree.
think the sport needs a prestigious gala evening where the players are slightly out of their comfort zone because they've got to wear these funny bows and proper suits, and I just think it
You can
shows the
still wear
sport.
it if you want.
You can wear a dressing gown if you want, but there's no dress code. That's
Hey,
the problem.
don't rule it out.
I wouldn't. It's after 6.
it's going to turn. It's going to turn.
No,
like,
It's easy, isn't it?
Don't rule it
Get
out.
home straight to bed.
Don't rule it out. I've been to Mattel on the selling them free.
I can see you on the M62.
They're selling them free for 20 quid at the Mattel at the moment. Don't worry about
Yeah, but the worry is we've all seen that. We've all seen that clip of EastEnders when people used to watch it of Mike Reid as Frank Butcher turning up on Pat's doorstep in dressing gown, takes dressing gown off. All he's wearing is a bow tie.
Don't give him an example.
that. I tell you what, that's me, Richie.
Oh,
The dressing
God.
gown and bow tie. Hey!
No, you're right though. He's a bit.
What have you done?
He's changing an event for the sake of changing an event. But it
No,
could be
and
a
I
massive
get
success.
that they want a public
Yeah,
I
involvement.
agree with
and
you.
they
I
want
agree
to-
with you.
But I do
Yeah.
think that for one day a year, it's
Yeah,
like, and we should never compare ourselves religiously with what they do in the NRL. But the Dally Ends is red
PFA
carpet.
was the PFA. They do it
Black
elsewhere.
tie.
Exactly. Yeah. I must admit, I agree with that. To be honest with you. Yeah.
Dignity sometimes. Not on this
The
programme.
dressing gowns are back.
We'll wear it next week.
We get
Black tie.
We get some 40-20 dressing gowns.
Hey, I'm going to go to Cast next week in my dressing gown. I'm going to Castleford next week in my dressing gown.
Come and see him.
They won't mind it. I tell you what, I bet 3/4 of them have got dressing gowns on.
Well, we'll charge people to have selfies with their dressing gown. We'll give the money to
Yeah, I bet
charity.
3/4 of them have got dressing gowns on.
You can get £8 off I'm confused. £8 off a Tommy shirt at mascotbrowns.com using that thing there, MATEAA, mascotbrowns.com until midnight tonight. Links are on our social media if you are there. We're going to talk about Warrington in a minute, but a couple of things on Twitter. Dean says, is Walker to Wakey the worst kept secret ever? No, it's Luke Gale to Leeds. And Vic says, evening fellas, can I ask Phil, because you know all that goes on at Leeds, if Leeds consider Gareth Widdop and a return for Aussie coach Tony Smith as opposed to the other Tony Smith, they would have been fantastic signings. By the way, will Trent Merrin free a marquee space? So it could be interesting. Good to see he's all over the marketing for Leeds at season tickets.
Yes.
Good watch Leeds. Oh.
I don't think Tony Smith was seriously considered, but I'm not sure Tony would be going back anyway. And he left on really good terms to take the England job. He had 2 grand final successes in the time he was there. I don't know if that would have worked for either party. What was the other one?
Gareth Widdop.
Same for Warrington, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if a few clubs didn't inquire as to his availability, but I think once Warrington decide that he's the man that they want and he's coming as a marquee signing,
Hey, listen.
it blows everybody else
Hey,
out.
listen, he's exactly the same as Luke Gale coming under a cloud. That's shoulder problem.
Yeah.
Shoulder problem, you know, so you don't know how long he's going to last for with that shoulder.
Well, last year it was about this time we started the Sean O'Loughlin's going to Leeds rumour. So
But that was true.
yeah,
They did make a bid for him.
so who's going to sign for Leeds this year?
The Merrin one is interesting because clearly the issue is not Trent Merrin.
No.
His partner has some reasons to be back in Australia. She is now pregnant as well. The two of them are hopefully having their child, and that changes the dynamic somewhat. I think Trent Merrin, with everything that he said at the end of season awards, do seem settled, seemed honoured and happy to be captain. And I think he can see that it's It's a club that has the potential to move forward, and he wanted to be part of that. The issue for, I think, him now is that if there was just one NRL club that was interested, and let's say it was Newcastle Knights or Gold Coast Titans, they haven't got a bargaining position. They would have to pay Leeds a transfer fee to release him for the last 3 years of his contract, and they'd offer him money that would still probably be slightly more than here, but if there's only one club that's interested, it's not really an auction. He's got 3 clubs that are interested, so I think we can assume at this stage that not only will he be paid more, but I think actually he could be paid something like 3 or 4 times more than he's getting here, because there's more than one club interested. I think there is more likelihood of a transfer fee being paid if there's more than one club. Leeds will accept the fact that compassionate reasons, it would make sense if his other half needs to go home, that they allow him to go home. It does free up a marquee place. Now what you do with that marquee place is interesting. I don't think Luke Gale is coming on a marquee contract, so would they be able to replace Trent Merrin with somebody who, let's say, offered an equal amount of marketing impact? And there is one person out there in the NRL at the moment, let's start the rumour now.
Colin Watkins.
No, who I think, if Leeds signed, who is a like-for-like replacement in terms of position for Trent Merrin, would immediately trigger a massive amount of interest in terms of column inches for the sport as well as the club, would sell a hell of a lot of merchandise on the back of it.
Cameron Smith.
No, I think now is the time for Sam Burgess to come home.
Well, Cameron Smith, he hasn't decided he's playing for the Storm next year.
No.
Cameron Smith's got to be the man.
You think he could do a Danny Medeiros and spend his last year over here?
Oh, Cameron Smith, the way he plays, can play for the next 4 or 5 years, to be honest with you.
I think he plays as Kevin Sinfield as Danny Maguire as referee as well. So
I would be looking at Cameron Smith, me.
I looked at Souths playing that semi-final, and they look like a team now that needs to be in a little bit of transition.
Sam won't come back over here with the lifestyle he's got in Australia.
Well, I think he might.
No, I don't think so. The question, and also as well, the question I'm going to ask you for Leeds is, who's going to be the captain next year? Will they give Luke Gale the captaincy?
Sam Burgess. When he signs.
Have you heard something that we've not heard?
No,
Sam Burgess coming to Leeds.
Starting the rumour now.
Well,
So I think
if you're saying
goes,
that,
if you're saying that,
Phil Kaplan, it's not a rumour. You know something.
I've just started it.
You know something. I'd go for Cameron Smith, me. No two ways about it. Make him captain, give him a 3-year deal, marquee signing. Cameron Smith for me.
You lot are like goons, says Andy.
Yeah, of course
I wish we were like the goons. They were quite good.
Why did you say that?
He's Harry Seeker.
Yeah.
Why are you saying that, Andy? Why are you saying we goons?
Gary Scofield presents Highway. Oh no. Singing on some Welsh cliffs with his dressing gown. Singing Bread of Heaven.
Hey, it can be arranged.
Yeah.
Going up Snowdonia, it can be arranged, can't it? It can be arranged. Sam Burgess to Leeds.
What was that, Michael? I'll be one of the potty men.
Michael Benty.
Michael Benton was potty time.
Spike Milligan, obviously.
Can you say that? Spike was in a class of his own.
Lisa says we couldn't match his wages. Tom says he's not coming back. He couldn't see himself coming back to the UK. Loads of money. Give him a box in the new North Stand.
There are some
Tickets for the opera.
There are some reasons why he might come back. I mean, he's seeing George come back to Wigan, so that Burgess triumvirate is being broken up.
Dewsbury's
Sam
finest.
Burgess to leave.
Dewsbury's finest.
You heard it
He
here
wants
first.
to go see Bradford again.
We made it up here first.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nearly tea time, which is exciting. Which means that it's time to do all the rounds of stuff. The exciting news is,
Yes.
it's a busy time for rugby podcasts apparently at the minute. And last week's episode currently is 34th on the Apple Podcasts Great Britain Rugby Podcast chart, which, despite being in 34th, is the highest ranked rugby league podcast because everything else is about something else that's going on apparently.
Thank you, everyone.
I don't know who all these other people are. Michael Liner, Johnny Wilkinson, never heard of them. Joe Miller, some foreign people, I don't know. Maybe they play for Japan, I don't know. So that's good. Although we have gone out of the Luxembourg charts, which is bad news. Here's Toes22, who's left their review. 5 stars. A rugby league podcast with honest thoughts and feelings about the game. No hidden agendas and no boosting of own egos. They've never met Scully, have they? Bloody hell. Hidden agenda.
Doesn't say makes things up.
No, hidden agendas are like fully out in the open. Leeds in crisis t-shirts for half a year.
Scott, you got an ego. Do me a favour.
Richard can't find your Common League Express. It's in the middle, Richard.
It's
Bill
moved,
can find it
moved
either.
towards the middle.
Yeah,
Trying to get people to read more than the first couple of pages.
I'll say just before the cup of tea comes from, is it still Brian?
It's still Brian.
Is it
Brian's
still
Brian's working his notice.
Just and I say I know Ian Watson's certainly going to be up there, but Danny Ward again, 2-year deal at London Broncos. Danny again just showing that loyalty, great relationship with David Hughes, and the press is going to be on the championship. He knows that they're going to be a target from there, but 2-year deal, well done London, well done Danny Ward, and I'm not changing. I say I know Watto's done a great job at Salford from there, 80 minutes away from the grand final, but still Danny Ward, London Broncos, 20 points, winning 10 games. Everybody, including the legend myself, saying maybe maximum 2, 3 games maximum to get the 20 points, 10 games. Coach of the year for me. Well done Danny Ward, well done London.
Good news from Nigeria for all the Rhinos fans, because last week they were beaten, last week they were rubbish, but this week they've beaten the Kings 56-6. Haven 36, Broncos 10. The lady scores from Nigeria. She's still got a Nigerian shirt on this week.
Well, it's important.
Nigerian people are obviously much slenderer than people from Wakefield. 2XL, but it's nipping a bit, as Scott would say. It's the opening weekend of the the opening week it is this week. The Middle East Africa Championships in the middle of Forty20 magazine, available now. All good news agents. And it starts on the 2nd, which is Wednesday, with Ghana versus Nigeria and Cameroon versus Morocco, with the finals on the 5th, which is Saturday. So all the details are in the current 4020. I'm sure we'll bring you the results next week as well.
We will be keeping a big eye out on that, because I think it could be the start of something really important in Africa. And more than these international matches, I think it's the fact that domestic leagues are starting and that you can give out results. I think the Ghanaian and the Cameroonian leagues are taking place. Oh, biscuits. So yes, keep an eye out on the internationals, but support the domestic developments as well.
I'm sure there's a TV deal. This isn't domestically as well in Africa, so I'm sure there'll be some stuff.
Well, the other thing is these games are going to be featured on Yanga TV.
There you go.
Which
TV.
You can get on Sky.
Right.
So scroll through, see if the matches are listed, but you will be able to see Rugby League from Africa. We should be celebrating that.
Might get some viewers further up the box you go on Sky. Women's Super League. I was at Fev yesterday. It was wet. Featherstone beat Wakefield 26-0. Hopefully we got the try scores right, because they're the ones who put in the paper. So either they've copied off us or we've just guessed. Some good tries from Fev, like the interception one. And Wakefield did a short kick off that came off. That was good. But Wakefield finished bottom because they lost. York and Bradford were supposed to play at Dudley Hill, because obviously Bradford can't play at Oddsall anymore because it's been locked up, depending on who you believe. But that didn't get played because of the weather, which is, I don't know if they'll ever play that game.
York didn't go to the game that you were at?
They were at Fev.
All dressed in their Hawaiian shirts.
All dressed
like
up in
the
Hawaiian
men's
stuff.
team. Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant.
One dressed up as a pineapple got on the pitch after the game.
Who was that?
The York ladies went and supported Featherstone and Wakefield when their game was called off. They were in fancy dress.
So they're like a mad Sunday, then.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Leeds beat Wigan 16-0. Courtney Hill scored a try, as did Abby Eatock. And saw bits of that on the Kira Bennett with the other try for Leeds, I should say. Saw that because Leeds helpfully stream these things on YouTube. Some interesting commentary on that one, well worth going back and watching.
Wigan, the one to read a moment.
Yeah, Wigan's season. Well, they only just scraped into the plus. They knew they were going to be there, obviously, because this round of fixtures meant nothing. But
you say meant nothing.
Well,
the leaguer's unbeaten run came to an end.
Featherstone only finished a point behind Wigan. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because it finished at Helens 20, Castleford 14. Due to the play, they're totally wicked, but they moved it because of the weather. And then it kicked off late because Cass got stuck in traffic. They went into the lead, did Cass. Again, this was on the I think on the Betfred Facebook page, and interestingly, or not, the numbers for this were much higher than I've seen for League One games that I've been streaming on the Betfred page as well. Now, again, don't take one number and extrapolate it into everything's a success, because too many people do that and don't know what they're talking about, but I just thought it was an interesting thing. What is interesting is looking at the league table. It's only when you look at it you realise this. I've not seen enough of Saints this year. I think I've seen them play live once. You don't realise that. Yes, Castleford were going for an unbeaten season. Saints have finished just 1 point behind them in the table. And the points isn't that much different either, 465 to 391. I said on social media last week this could be a preview of the grand final. Now, whether I still believe that when we do the predictions later, I don't know. But interesting. I don't know if is it a good thing or a bad thing when you're a team that's on a great run heading into a playoff series. Is it good or bad to perhaps be knocked back a peg or two before you go into those big games?
I don't think it does you any harm. I think you reassess. You don't take anything for granted. You double up on your process and make sure that things that have been successful for you, you're still doing them. So I think Cass become more dangerous having lost their last league game of the season, in the knowledge that that could be the team that they play in the grand final.
Danny, because show us in the paper.
Very photogenic.
I
I saw a better interception than you this week.
Did you?
Yes.
We'll come to that in a moment. So let's go through the semi-finals. Cass, Wigan, Saints and Leeds. Both apparently kick off at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Good planning, isn't it? You'd like to think both will be on the app, but they just seem to put anything on there these days. What are they going to do this week when they preview the Oldham Newcastle game and realise Rangy Chase isn't playing? Why they've been obsessed with Rangy Chase in the build-up and all season for Doncaster, I've got no idea. Players in the Championship: Warrington versus Huddersfield, Barrow versus Stanley. Barrow Island Ladies, I should say. And in League One, Keighley Albion versus Cutsick and West Leeds Eagles versus Halifax. And good luck to all those involved. Grand final in a couple of weeks' time. So, this interception you saw then, Phil, where did you see this?
In the rain.
In the rain. Well, that was it down.
Selby Rugby Union.
We've got big billing in the League Express. We've got a couple of photos and no writing. Well done there.
Great facility there, Phil.
It is a really good facility. They had 3 or 4 things going on different pitches, but the PDRL had 2 pitches right in front of the really nice grandstand and corporate facility that they've got there. They were serving some lovely food in the bars. Over 400 people turned up to watch the first ever PDRL semi-final and grand final. Really, I mean, we've been talking about PDRL ever since it started, and the admiration that we've got for the people that play it. I mean, you played it, but I would say that the guys and the women, Emma Kirk was playing for Wakefield, that play PDRL are the toughest that play this sport, because they've got things that they need to get over to even get on the field, and they don't sacrifice anything. There is no self-preservation at all. The first semi-final was Wakefield and Leeds. Wakefield won it late on. They played a brilliant brand of rugby, irrespective of the wet. They wanted to get the ball wide. They had a full-back and a winger who was superb. Just scored a late try to nick it, but Leeds scored an interception try from halfway, and an interception that not only saved them a game and kept them in it right till the end, but Scott Govin, who's been their leading try scorer this year, only has one arm and came up with the most astonishing interception in the wet, went half the length of the field, and I just doffed my hat to them. They are incredible people. In the other semi-final it was only 4-0. Warrington just defeated Castleford. So the grand final became Wakefield and Warrington, and that ended 10-4. Warrington just held on. I think they just had a tiny bit more experience. Adam Hills was playing, obviously he's given a huge boost to PDRL and the profile of it, irrespective of who won. And I think you saw that with the camaraderie. There were a couple of development games, so whilst there had to be a gap between Wakefield and Warrington playing in the final, Leeds volunteered to play Wigan, because Wigan had come all the way over and lost in the 5th and 6th place playoff game. Warrington bought enough players to have a Warrington B, so they played Castleford. And again, I think it's this camaraderie, and everybody was there cheering everybody else, no matter who'd won. I think the admiration they all have for each other is clear and evident. The crowd, who quite easily, I mean, they were stood out in the rain for 2.5 hours, could quite easily have gone home when their team lost. But everybody stayed to watch the final, irrespective of whether their side was in it. It was just so uplifting and was an honour and a privilege to be there.
KPWH say Sam was really good yesterday. We really enjoyed the day. Hopefully more publicity, stroke marketing, stroke whatever can be done of these events next year. I think the festival idea works as a
when you think that 2 years ago this didn't exist, and that clearly there has to be a refinement the more you go. So the rules get slightly changed, the categories get better defined. There's a lot of teams now who aren't using able-bodied players because they've got enough who qualify under PDRL rules to give them the chance to play, which is what it's all about. Now, able-bodied at the beginning, as again you all know from playing, is to facilitate these guys playing it. You're not there to score the tries and kick the goals. You're there to keep it moving and give them maybe the opportunity to have to run in a bit of space.
A bit of advice and guidance, yeah.
And I think now it's getting to the point where the teams are taking over. They're full of PDRL players, and it's brilliant that you'll endorse it, but you don't have to play anymore. And to me, this is something, again, that Robert Elson, the RFL, they need to decide who's in charge of it. They need to decide how they're going to market it. There's going to be some PDRL played at the grand final as a bit more of an exhibition. This is the future.
We need to talk about that because when you and Mr. Wilson played for Leeds in that game against Warrington a couple of years ago at Helens, the Leeds club, and I've said this before, you know, the stuff they do in their media department was very good. They sold that perfectly based on the fact of what you were there for, what you were doing, and how you were there to help the sport develop. The press release last week sent out about Paul Gallen, who donkeys whatever, as he would say, just a forward, but a big name, recent international, coming over here to play for Wakefield, which, as listeners will remember, a few weeks ago, I did tell you Wakefield were going to make a big signing that you didn't expect. I had the chairman asking me who it was, which was quite funny. Got you. I thought the press release was pathetic. Not to say
Gallen and Sampson
gave them equal billing, which whatever. You've actually got a very recent international rugby league player, World Cup winner, I'm guessing, because Australia always win it. All these honours, whatever. Treated as if it was nothing, just some fella. I just didn't get it whatsoever. I thought it was we're trying to sell the sport. We're trying to sell many and various different things. You've actually got a current player just coming to the end of his career in Australia.
current state of origin winner.
Coming over to play in a curtain raiser for the grand final. No one's going to pay any attention to it because it didn't sell it. And I know we're selling PDRL as a concept, don't get me wrong. But
So who's he playing for?
Playing for Wakefield.
When?
the grand final, before the grand final.
There's a PDRL exhibition game.
All right.
Paul Gallen's playing for Wakefield
Yeah.
and Dean Sampson's playing for Castle.
You want on CFAS because they saw the press release and thought, well, who's this fella?
And so they're promoting it, Gallen and Sampson.
But more than not, that's the problem. They didn't tell it. The way the press release was sent out was a waste of time. I don't like saying these things because people get upset, but
I think it's great that they're lending their profile to
very much so.
what will be another great exhibition for PDRL. But I would say that what we witnessed at Selby yesterday was worth more.
You use these people to get eyes on what is the main thing. That's why they got Scotty to play for Leeds.
That's why Adam Hills has been such a good
Yeah.
ambassador and mentions it on Channel 4 every time. And I don't know if his show is still on, but the next time it is, he'll be there with a trophy.
Speaking of social media, why Warrington signed Anthony Gowing?
Was that a rhetorical question?
Oh, I don't know.
To aid their social media department.
Well,
He's not Bryson Goodwin.
no, but also too that they've got the ex-Tribune player as well, Love for Burrell, so do they not trust him? Do they not think he's going to make it with the, what's he played, about 3 or 4 games, has he? Since he came in June, July time, so...
Yeah, but he's going to have his first full pre-season.
yeah, and they signed the young kid as well from Widnes, who's a centre, and he's set his stall out. He wants to be part of the first team. He's going to, himself, is going to get ripped in. He doesn't want to be a big part player. So, yeah, it's an interesting one from Warrington, isn't it?
People are picking up on the Sam Burgess thing now, so that's
Good.
you'll be on all those clickbaity rugby league sites tomorrow.
Oh, brilliant.
Leeds to sign big international player. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Why don't you stand on the sequence?
Are the season tickets going out on sale, fellas? This one.
Already on. I've got Trent Reigns.
Are the due out?
Yeah.
You know something,
The
Mr.
offers are
Kaplan.
there.
You know something, Mr. Kaplan. Right?
Halifax have signed Matt Garside from Bradford, which means Bradford have got about 2 players left. Could be a bit lonely for John Keir at training. Robert's asked us about Richard Carr. I think it means Ryan Carr. Is he off to Leeds to be the assistant to Richard Agar? Well, Featherstone are apparently looking for a new coach, according to the paper.
He certainly
today,
is
so.
leaving Featherstone at the end of this season, and he's done a magnificent job. There is clearly, we're talking about 2 coaches that are getting the very best out of their players. Ian Watson's doing it at Salford. Ryan Carr is getting nothing but brilliant testimonials out of everybody that's played for him this year. I think the plan was, because he'd been moved in part-time to help out in the early part of the week at Leeds, that he was going to be made full-time assistant to Richard Agar. But his stock at the moment is so high that there are people in Australia looking at him, saying, "I did a really good job at the Intrust Cup. He's only young. Do we want to bring him back and maybe offer him a job over there?" So I think he's going to have choice, but Leeds is one of his options.
I mean, we were wrong about Ryan Carr, weren't we, at the start of the season?
No, I think we were right. What we questioned was not whether he was the right appointment, but should an overseas coach coach in the Championship? Should that be a proving ground for British coaches? And I think the compromise that we all came up with was that if you wanted to sign an overseas coach, you lost the ability to sign an overseas player.
Yeah.
So the coach counts on the quota.
But again, when you look at what Carr has done there at Featherstone, and when you listen to the players last night when they're getting interviewed, and when you've seen them play all year, he's a coach who lets his players express themselves, and this is why they get the results, because the players enjoy the environment what he's presenting, you know, and that's not coaching. Again, that's man management and getting the best out of the players.
It's not only getting the best out of the players. They're a real disparate bunch. So you've got some kids that have come through the Featherstone system. You've got some loan players. You've got some dual reg. You've got scraping around to get the best.
That's all about man management, though, Phil. No, it's not coaching. It's man management.
It's signing the old player from Australia, it's fitting everybody in and saying, "I'll make you a team." To do that in such a short period of time deserves massive plaudits. He's clearly a very, very good player.
I mean, we will get on to the predictions later, but we have to talk about Featherstone Rovers beating Toulouse yesterday, because
Beating them easily.
I was at Post Office Road yesterday afternoon for the women's game and speculated on commentary because they're talking about, this is coming up later tonight, blah, 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 blah. We're into the hilarious position now where we've got Toronto, massive city in Canada, playing off for a place in Super League, apparently. And it seems that they're gaining now, doesn't it? Gary Carter said it in the papers.
I think it'll be announced this week.
And
in the Challenge Cup, which is good.
Yeah. We still probably all play over here, won't they? Going against...
Yeah.
Because they live in Manchester, we know. The city will tell us.
But the Challenge Cup's been moved forward, so more of the early rounds are almost like pre-season or early season, so they'll be here anyway. They'll be playing away from home, all of their games, but they would have done at that time of the year anyway. So
going against Toronto is a pit village without the pits in Featherstone Rovers. I was there yesterday, and as I said on the commentary of the Fev Wakefield women's game, they have got the best stadium of the 3 teams in that postcode area. Well, Wakefield and Castles anyway. Dewsbury both as well. Maybe even and Batley have not been there for a while. They've got a lovely facility, perfect for the size of club they are. Well-run club. Use dual reg in the right way. If I was Aston Golding, by the way, I'd be waiting to see what happens on Sunday rather than signing for Huddersfield. Tell you, Adrian. It could happen, couldn't it? It could happen. Little Featherstone Rovers, having been cruelly denied so many times a place.
Well, your team beat them, didn't they?
Well, that wasn't our fault. That was
99.
That's a referee's fault, I think, or Carl Pratt, one of the two. But we actually beat them.
Gary Casey.
Yeah. Francis Stevenson. The other Gary Pratt.
I tell you what, though, before the game yesterday, I just felt as though Featherstone, they've got that purpose, they've got that desire, they've got that team spirit. I just felt as though Toulouse, after the disappointment against Toronto, that they might have just a little bit too much quality from there. But I tell you what, after 5 minutes, I thought to myself, no chance this Toulouse outfit. And what's that Jonathan Ford? And if I was coaching him, I would give him the nickname Deck Chair, because he's that laid back. It's untrue. Honestly, I'd be like, "Hey, Deck Chair, what are you doing? Just try and stand up a little bit, show a bit of purpose. Show a bit
the line on a bit.
Show a bit of desire." And that tackle or so-called attempted tackle and Aston Golding. Well, let me just tell you this. My grandson, Ruben's 3 on Sunday, and he would have made a better effort than that. He was absolutely pathetic. But as I say, I'd give him the nickname Deck Chair because he's just so... but that performance from Toulouse was exactly the same. You know, but I'm taking nothing away from Featherstone. They were simply outstanding. But the attitude and purpose for them Toulouse players to say what a game it was, and again could be maybe 80 minutes away from the grand final. But they're not. They're not, because Featherstone quite simply outsmarted them, out-infused them, play with that desire, play with that purpose, and when the moments came along where the opportunities from there were brilliant. We mentioned Cal McClelland earlier, good kicking game, but then the main man coming up with the right calls in dangers, and the 2 kicks he put through. I tell you what, Johnny Davis, what sort of player is Johnny? When you talk about somebody who put his body on the line week in and week out, I loved him when I watched him down at Cast there a few years ago. But yeah, the purpose got there. But as we say about Cardiff on there, and all them players again, the players as individuals know the jobs and know the roles, and then that as a team comes collectively. Nobody tries to stand on somebody else's shoes to say, move out of the way, let me do this, let me be Billy Big Crystals. They're a good team, got a good side. One thing for sure, what Toronto won't be doing on, is it Saturday or Sunday they play?
Saturday night.
On Saturday night, they won't be disrespecting Featherstone, no. Because one thing for sure, what Featherstone will not be lacking, that will be desire, purpose, enthusiasm. Hey, because listen, they can create history, just like Salford can do the night before on the Friday. They can create history for this great club. We know from where they're coming, we know the great history of Featherstone, and Mark Campbell's done a great job at Featherstone Rovers from there, where 80 minutes away from the big stage. I think it's a great story.
I think the other thing that I really like about the Featherstone story at the moment, it goes back a little bit to what we were talking about with Salford showing respect. Featherstone could have complained about the route that they've had. You know, they didn't get back till late today. They've got to get on a plane on Thursday.
Yeah.
They're relishing it.
Absolutely.
They're just saying, no.
Yeah.
You know,
they're on this journey, Phil.
We're enjoying this. Don't tell us that we're disadvantaged in any way.
Exactly.
We're playing the underdog card, but we're loving this.
Yeah,
you know, send us wherever you want. Send us to Afghanistan if you want. We'll go.
Exactly.
We'll play. And they are absolutely relishing this togetherness.
They're on this journey.
Summed up by James Lockwood, I think, who is the most underrated player in there. But
young Harrison played well as well. Harrison played well.
He's made a big impact off the bench, but he had to start this time. Still made the same impact.
Hey, do you know what as well? And I thought to myself, what's he got the Leeds for? But Wellington Albert, he made an impact as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
but everybody knows the role, as we mentioned there, Phil. They're enjoying this journey, and I would imagine, because at the part-time out of the Featherstone, I would imagine all the lads who are working, the bosses will be saying, I don't want to see you Tuesday, I don't want to see you Wednesday, I know you're going to Toronto Thursday. Enjoy from there. I would imagine now, you know, like I keep saying, well, players can't be involved because, like the Catalans players, they're on the King Edwards and they've got the Factor 6 on. Well, I'll tell you what, the Featherstone players, they're on the King Edwards, they're ready for the Factor 6, and they're ready for a quality game of Rugby League on Saturday night.
And they have nothing to
lose, exactly.
So it's a free
brilliant, sensational.
It's a great story, but I do think the way they've approached it, every week they've just said, let's go on with it.
You know what that is, Phil? Because there's no pressure on them.
Yeah.
No
but
pressure.
also I think the coaching staff have been brilliant. That's where Ryan Carr again.
Man management.
We're going to enjoy all this.
Correct.
We're going to have a bit of fun.
Absolutely.
Let's see what we can do.
It's man management and doing things with a smile on your face.
And they've got
brilliant.
They've got a great hooker in Connor Jones, who Cameron King has been one of the players of the championship. He's not fit at the moment. Yeah. Might be this week, but to then go out and get a replacement as good as that Salford have already snapped up. It just shows again that somebody's doing the work behind
I know we'll do the predictions, but can it be done? Can it be done?
The fact is,
can it be done?
We're already not ruling out the possibility.
Absolutely. Well, I sent Sandy a message today, the big Toronto fan. Hi Sandy, you alright, darling? And one thing for sure, Featherstone are coming for you. Featherstone are coming for you, Sandy.
As I've said before, where we used
not for her. But,
well, we know. Toronto, yes. Your Toronto mob.
When we used to work above the sandwich shop, there was a picture of our dear leader, Mr. Bates, under which it said it can be done.
Absolutely, it can be done.
It wasn't until he pulled the money
out. It can be done.
What kind of relationship does Gary Hetherington and Brian McDermott have these days? Also,
no.
Well, so that's the Leeds team all in then this week. Jack Walker can come up. Luke
could Featherstone use any more Leeds players? No.
You've got to have been registered before the playoffs.
Yeah, Harry Newman's played. Can he play? He's played for Featherstone a few times this year. Can he play?
We don't.
Didn't play for them so much this year, did it?
Right, I don't know. I just
No.
no.
No, I think the players are registered.
Hey, but listen, Wolf of a short.
They don't need to bring
exactly.
anybody in.
Featherstone,
They have to keep it
correct.
as much.
Featherstone don't need anybody else. They don't need anybody else.
They've got a
yeah?
really good balance of so experience and people understand what it means to that community.
Absolutely.
And some quality that they brought in.
Is there many of the flat cappers going over? Have they doing ours? Any on social media?
It costs
Plenty
a fortune.
yeah, it will cost a
sure,
fortune, won't it? You know.
I'm sure they'll try.
Yeah.
There'll be some. There will definitely be some. And the one thing we can say is they'll be very well looked after. But the one thing that Toronto most certainly do is that if you go as an away fan, all of the people I've spoken to that have come back, whether it's been with Swinton or Barrow, or they've all said we've had a fantastic time.
Yeah.
I think as has been pointed out, and some people within our sport play the poor, downtrodden, working class northern card too much because, as Gav Wilson pointed out earlier from York, how many times a season do Liverpool, Man United, Man City, whatever, play away in Europe? Flights to, and we're not talking about.
And you don't know who you're playing until a couple of weeks before, so you could be going anywhere.
And we're talking about not to Toronto, which is a major international city, going to Azerbaijan or whatever. You know. Yes, things are expensive, but you don't have to go to everything.
You make choices. You make choices.
And I tell you what,
they're on a journey.
Yeah.
And it's on the telly.
You'll be sacrificing something else, but your choice may be to go to Toronto this weekend, and you won't regret it if you do.
And if they win Featherstone, I tell you, the facility what they've got down there, it's certainly better than Wakefield. It's certainly better than Cass. You know, again, great credit to Matt Campbell. You know, for how he's got that club where
and
it
they've
is.
got developable land around.
Oh,
it
yeah,
as well. So
yeah,
if they
yeah.
needed to
The
even
hospitality,
upgrade it
the
again,
hospitality place there is good, and I know the bar upstairs where they made the Hall of Fame bar. It's very, very nice. But I tell you what, Featherstone are ready for Super League. Featherstone are ready for Super League 2020.
But is Super League ready for Featherstone? That's the question.
I really enjoy looking at all the old stuff in the. So I went upstairs and I look at all the old bits and pieces in the bar. It's very nice.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Well, the other thing is they would take the share of the monies on offer. So they get £2 million to build a squad. So you'd imagine there'd be some maybe Hull KR London players, some players they might have on dual regs at the time, full time. Whereas Toronto aren't taking any money. So it's a very different dynamic. So I think if Toronto win, they will go big in the market. I think
they have to do.
But they will. I don't think expense will be spared. I think they've already got some people lined up who will go, oh, okay.
Sam Burgess won.
Well, they would have done, but it's coming to Leeds now.
All the other
but they're looking at some big rugby union names. They're trying to get the best they can for the money that they would invest.
So they're buying a side, aren't they, really, then? Not buying.
But they've always done that. You can only have two marquee players, but they will spend, Ashton Sims is retiring, they'll get a big name to replace him. So they will spend and they'll add some profile to Super League if they get in. Featherstone will be something really different, I think. It'll be a bit like the story of London this year. Can they get a band of people together that maybe other clubs perhaps didn't want as first choice? Can they get a coach in who can mould them around the same way that Danny Ward did? And can they upset enough people during the season to stay up?
Well, the fact of the matter is...
And they could.
And you mentioned it a few times this year, Phil. Yeah. Toronto brought in a coach who knows what press is all about. He'll be taking this week. He'll be taking the pressure off the players. We all know how Macca works from there. But when them players go on that field, it's all about them. It's all about them for 80 minutes. It's all about can they handle that pressure because
can they execute the game
correct,
plan?
The flat cappers, they will be getting ripped in. They will be making sure that they will put them under a hell of a lot of pressure. Can't wait for that game too.
And the great thing is, we genuinely don't know.
We'll
give a prediction.
Yeah.
I don't know if Salford are going to beat Wigan. I don't know if Featherstone are going to beat Toronto.
I'm sure.
We'll give the wrong opinion.
And Canberra beat the Roosters in the NRL. All shocks. All shocks.
Can't wait.
The British boys, for Canberra.
Love those two semi-finals.
I'm sure when Robert Elston and his team at Super League headquarters, wherever it was before they moved to the fashionable Victoria Club, whatever it's called, the fancy offices in Manchester, when they put together this document, New Beginnings, thought, Fev, that's what we want in Super League.
That will help us with our TV deal.
Yeah.
We want another team
Fev
on the M62.
Fev TV, coming live from Emily Moore. They presented us at the start of the season with 13 things which were going to happen, or were going to be making Super League great again, to quote that other fella. Buddy, you're not allowed to say anything bad about. So here, as we take this opportunity, before the predictions to look at these 13 things and see, because it's easy just to criticise and go, Robert Elson's rubbish, he doesn't like my club. That's easy enough to do. But we can look at these.
I think he'll be crying at Toulouse. He quite likes them.
Well, that would have been the perfect final because you can't lose on that one, can he? But now we can get Featherstone in. Part of me, the mischievous part, thinks,
the DNA that is rugby league. You want the Renegades to get in, don't you?
I'm only for the chaos, but unfortunately I got the other chaos. Right, number one, and this is pointless actually when you look back at it. Presenting new rules and laws to highlight why Super League is different, to speed the game up, to add drama and excitement, to force fatigue, million fans, to open up opportunities late in the game, to reposition attrition alongside it. I don't think I've read this at all until now. To reposition attrition alongside impact, the following will be introduced in 2019. The shot clock, which has done nothing, has it? No one's been caught on that.
Cosmetic.
The golden point.
Yeah, we've had some exciting golden point.
Reduced interchange. Everybody still coped with that okay, don't
The
they?
Saints seem to have done alright.
Yeah. The final 5 minutes, in quotation marks.
The final 5 minutes, what's that supposed to mean?
We stop the clock now and
Yeah.
get the full value of the final 5 minutes. None of which has made the slightest bit of difference. Other than the golden point.
Don't forget to use the hashtag negative rugby league. Put it up
Realistic.
there. Realistic rugby league, sorry. The listeners will love this bit. You'll love this bit, viewers. On International Podcast Day, ready to welcome the best group of ex-NRL debutants for several seasons, adding excitement and personality, getting all fans on the edge of their seats. Are you ready for the first two? Giants, Frawley and Uarte.
Move on. Move on. Move on.
And then it goes like Kane Linnett, Lollahea, he's done good at Salford. Hurrell, Merrin, Yates at the Knights, Nakamba, Powler and Coote at Saints, obviously, and Austin and Clark at the Wolves. Well, yeah, some of them have been good. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, you get a tick
As
on
you'd
that.
expect,
Yeah.
if you
Some
sign
people
good
have been
players, they normally turn out to be good.
Excited about the emerging British talent ready to shine on the Super League stage, including, but not exclusively, Jake Truman.
And he was the young player of the year, so
Matty Lees.
done well.
Yeah. Danny Walker.
Nearly played.
Jack Walker.
Done alright.
Cameron Scott.
Went on loan to Doncaster, I think.
Doncaster, they're famous, I've seen them. Harry Smith.
Played one game.
There were some other exciting young talents there this season.
Harry Smith, who's he play for?
Wigan. He's a young scrum half that played for the England schoolboys.
Oh, right.
I think he's been at Swinton most of the time.
Oh, is he? Oh, that's him who dominated the Australian schoolboys, wasn't it? Right, okay. Right.
So there's been some young talent that's come through. There's always young talent that comes
Always
through.
Yeah, but they need opportunity to play first team football, you know.
And the right sort of football, because
Yeah,
that's what you've been saying
that
as well.
that sort
They
of
all
talent.
seem to be very similar.
Yeah. But that sort of talent, you know, and the reports, because there's a quality one at St Helens as well, number 7, who's played in the academy. I forget his name now, and he's supposed to be sheer quality. But you know,
Dodds, is it Harry Dodds?
is it Dodds? Yeah, Dodds. That's his surname. Is it Lewis Dodds?
Lewis,
yeah,
yeah.
Lewis Dodds.
The
Yeah,
Bosby's look good when
he's supposed to be the next big thing. Well, these players, to be honest with you, should be playing at least half a dozen games. At least half a dozen games.
So we need to, on his next one, when Robert Elson repeats this next year, he needs to say, force teams to play young players more. Which they can do. Look at number 4. Looking forward to the most competitive Super League for many seasons. A compelling league with uncertain outcome, which is sport. Half of Super League, 12-1 or less. And 66% less than 22-1 to win the Betfred Super League Grand Final. And when it turns out it's Wigan and Saints, we'll all be like,
Well, he got it right that it was competitive. He just got it at the wrong end of the table.
Well, to be honest with you, Phil, it was competitive because below St Helens, everybody else was inconsistent. You know, because everybody else was inconsistent. That's why it was competitive. Apart from St Helens,
it's been the
you asked the Hull fans, they were rubbish.
Absolutely.
You asked the Hull fans, they were rubbish at the end of the season. You asked the Warrington fans, and they were rubbish at the end of the
What
season.
he's talking about is more teams being in contention to win the grand final.
Yeah,
It's
not
been the
relegated.
least competitive because St Helens have won it by a record margin. Now we still don't know who's going to win the grand final, but the competitive element came for the wrong reasons.
Correct.
If you're trying to promote the sport.
Absolutely.
It's all about relegation.
5. Restoring interest and value in Man of Steel and Dream Team. A season-long and interactive narrative. I love marketing. To find, showcase and reward Super League's best players. We've like the thing coming out on a Monday, I guess.
It's fine.
Give us something to talk about.
It's not hitting beyond preaching to the converted.
Dream Team. I thought they had less of an impact this year.
Underwhelming when it was not that the players didn't deserve to be in it, but the way it was announced. Normally there's the launch of the playoffs and the Dream Team are there and they all get their shirt and it's a deal. But it was like, here it is on social media.
Scotty was he was part of it, so it was good.
I mean, all it's done. If it should have just said, wishing to ape the Dally M's.
Let's say that. 6. Half of these get a bit rubbish from now on, it has to be said. Presenting a great fixture list. Opening weekend, opening month. Fans eagerly awaiting Saints, Wigan and Hull Derby, Rhinos, Wolves, with more and more to come. Well, I guess so.
No.
Well, if Wigan and St Helens play the grand final, that's 5 times they've played this year.
Loop fixtures don't work. We shouldn't start at the end of January, so what we're doing next year, loop fixtures.
How many times have Wigan? It's Wigan and Salford 5 times this Friday, isn't it? Or is it 4 times at least, isn't it? 4. Yeah, you know. As you mentioned last week, this wouldn't happen in the NRL, Phil.
No.
I know we're trying to maybe copy the NRL a little bit and give the sort of excitement, but
I think you've got to say that the attendance at the Challenge Cup final, which I know isn't a Super League event but involved the top 2 Super League teams, and the playoff attendances have proved that our fixture list is wrong.
7. Showcasing the best against the best. A compelling World Club challenge, the best of the NRL, testing the resilience, toughness and skills of Wigan. It seems longer, I can't remember the World Club challenge. But it happened.
They were totally outplayed by the Roosters. Simple as that.
What we need
is
to elevate the World Club challenge to an event and not a one-off game. And we nearly had it when we had 3 teams. And I know that it wasn't necessarily the best 3 Australian teams, but that weekend, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday game meant something. It was different. We need to get back to that.
We'll never forget Sky singing the national anthem on TalkSport too.
What
7
radio's
or
for?
more. 7 or
What
more.
radio's for?
8. Targeting Good Friday and an aggregate attendance record. Fixtures set to facilitate a record round targeting the highest aggregate attendance in Super League's 24-year history. They did that, didn't they? I think I can't remember. I get a bit bored of
But Easter Monday wasn't a success.
I get a bit tired of the whole.
Talking of attendances,
Oh yes.
could I just mention something?
Yeah.
The RFL put out a press release, and I understand why they did it, because it was the build-up to the Championship Awards, saying how brilliant it was that the average attendances in the Championship had gone up, what was it, 31% or something? Omitting to say that there were 3 new teams in the Championship this year. Those teams were Bradford, who were the best supported team in the Championship, Widnes, who were the second best supported team in the Championship, and York, who we've all praised for being able to get crowds in and up their marketing. And they lost London, who was one of the lowest averages. So attendances have gone up because we changed the makeup of the league that brings in more fans.
Statistics.
Lies, damn lies and statistics.
9. Now this has to be a tick because it happened. Taking magic to a great city in a world famous stadium. Super League takes over one of our most famous cities and one of the world's most famous stadiums, which it did. They have announced that it's going back there next year, despite the fact on the telly, after the final game, Robert Elson said, yeah, we're coming back to Anfield next year.
I'm sure he did
Not
say
a verbatim quote there. So...
But yes, they tried it. We all said we prefer Newcastle. We think there is a logic and a reason why, particularly if the World Cup's opening in Newcastle, we've now got another 3 games in Newcastle, that we should be doing all we can in the lead up between now and the 2021 World Cup to promote Newcastle. Newcastle may get promoted this weekend, which again is another potentially good news story, but we'll go back to Liverpool.
Or just somewhere different. And then we go back to talking about Nottingham or whatever, because we always do that. Or Birmingham. 10. Super League heads to the new camp. It did. Camp Lanzos, Wigan in the heart of Catalonia and the home of Messi. We did say though at the time that kind of fell into their lap. That wasn't by design.
It's set a new record attendance for a Super League game, so you've got to take your hat off to that.
Yeah, but also as well, they're announcing they're not going back.
But
they're not doing it again. So what's the purpose of it?
The fixture was because they came up with the Challenge Cup winners playing the champions. Now that's out of the control of any governing body as to who's going to play in a game like that. It worked. Well done.
Tim's got the hashtag miserable rugby league.
It's not miserable.
Get that on t-shirt. 11. Restoring a meaningful playoff narrative. Love that word. The road to the grand final gets more exciting, more demanding, with more clubs all the way to Old Trafford.
I think the top. If it means we're bringing back the top 5, that's definitely worked.
I like it. Just have that flaw that you do get the repeat fixtures, but that's just how the.
I'm not sure you can do it any other way. We need to see if there is another way of doing it, but I think it becomes too contrived with only 5 teams. You can do it with 8, but yeah, the top 5 is so much better than the top 4.
Well, why can't we copy, because we're tending to copy those, why can't we copy their format though?
Because it would mean that 8 of the 12 teams would be in the playoffs. And I think, again, that's just diluting quality. They've got 16 teams.
Right, okay, now I've got you. Right.
So that's my only issue, that if we'd gone down to 8th, well, Leeds would have been in it.
Got you.
Then you'd have won the bloody thing and we were no.
Right, got you. Right.
So I think that's the... But the top 5 clearly is...
Yeah, the top 5 is the best format.
Yeah.
It is.
Tim says it's been a good season, cheer up. We are happy.
We're analysing what Mr. Elston said. We're not
said
saying
a lot of
whether
these
it's been
things
a good
have
or a
happened.
bad season.
Enjoyed most of it. 12. A new Super League identity with clear lines of responsibility and accountability, which again is a dedicated Super League team, which they have now got in their fancy offices, focused on the rejuvenation of the competition and the commercialisation of rights and assets. So I guess we have picked up more sponsors as the year's gone on, haven't we? So that will be a tick. And there's the relaunch to come.
We've renegotiated with Betfred. But and bought in Checker Trade for the try of the month.
Is that RFL though, I think Checker did.
But I still think that's... You read John Davidson's long interview with Robert Elston, which is worth reading. Anybody out there that wants to subscribe to read it, it is worth reading. Everything that Robert Elston wants to do is contingent upon more resource. And when they bring in a couple of big name sponsors, then there will be more resource.
Finally, this is the one that we're not marketing people, we can't get this. I've got a D in business studies A level, but it was a long time ago before the internet existed. A commitment to developing a vibrant and compelling brand, can't speak, it's my job, and to breaking out of our bubble, an investment in an exciting team of high quality, experienced and committed partners and advisors to take Super League into younger audiences over the next 3 years. Well, we're not the younger audience, so we can't really comment on that.
No, and that needs to be judged after 3 years.
They are rebranding the Super League. We know that because I sat there and had an interesting...
I mean, it's safe to say, again, we shouldn't compare with the NRL.
No.
But they have rebranded in that their look is all common now. They've got the same logo on the field. They've got, each club has that logo, but with their colour. They brand into the game when it's on the television with the 3 initials of each club under the it's sort of that looks clean, and I think that's what Robert Elston's talking about. But I'm not sure that brings you an extra spectator to the game. I understand that you can sell it to broadcasters, that you've got something that you can take to the market. But I just don't know if people will wake up and go, because there's a nice new logo, I'm going to watch Super League.
The sad reality is, and we keep coming back to this point time and time again, is we still go back to people of Scully's era for people they've heard of, the players.
Absolutely.
And
he's in demand because people like what he says. Can't help everybody, but they do. And he's a recognisable name. And with the greatest respect to Tommy Makinson, if you said to a major national radio station, for example, got Tommy Makinson, they'll go, is Gareth Schofield available?
I'm a desperate, haven't they?
Must have heard of him.
Where are the rugby league people? There's never been more rubbish on TV involving celebrities, in inverted commas. There's no rugby league people on any of them. Not even from Scully's era.
No, as yet.
Celebrity MasterChef, Celebrity X Factor's coming out. Can you cook dancing?
Take your own.
I can cook.
Take your own bachelor's peas.
I can cook. Yeah, I can cook. I say I want to get on Jungle, haven't I? You know, they've had my CV now for the last 10 years. Have the people at ITV? Yeah, of course. I want to go on the Jungle, represent Rugby League. Of course I do. Absolutely. So if anybody out there from ITV
we're not
listening,
joking,
watching,
but we should be doing more of that, because you mentioned the golf tournament the other week.
Yeah.
That was
They're all there. Yeah, the PGA Championship down at Wentworth there, and you know, I said I listened to Darren Goff, you know, there, and he was saying, yeah, I'm going there. Michael Vaughan, Mike Tyndall, and all these players. I'm thinking, you know, where's a representative from Rugby League? Why are we not promoting our sport? Why not get our ambassadors in there? Get our people. Why are we not telling people?
So if we're talking about Mike Tyndall, Darren Goff, they were people who finished their careers in the
Michael Vaughan.
2000s.
They're not far off from me. I finished in '99, you know, so they're around about the same era as me.
But like we don't
You know
see
what I mean?
Paul Sculthorpe anyway, do we? I know these people have been about that time. We don't see Paul Sculthorpe anyway. Although the Moose did wish him a happy birthday the other day, so he's hit the Moose's consciousness. So that's good.
Well, the two people we've had,
I'd like to hit the moon.
Ellery was on Dancing on Ice, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Chariots.
And actually got more people recognising him and then looking back at his rugby career.
Yeah. And Martin, he's been on the dancing, and he's been on the celebrity cook and come down with me, you know. So, but no, we need more of it, you know. But I say, if there's anybody out there, ITV, out on the deck, if you're listening, get me on that jungle.
They do every
They
Monday.
love the program.
Out on the deck,
They've
you know,
left a
Newcastle.
5-star review.
Hey, do you know what as well? We should be in contact with Ant and Dick, promoting the World Cup Rugby League, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
Of course we should. We should be
Absolutely,
having them as ambassadors, don't you think?
It probably cost a bit
Very
too
good
much
point.
money, but we should be in contact with TV producers and saying, look, we've got these people. This is where
I agree. Totally.
This is where perhaps we can use the agents to our advantage because they know how to sell things.
Well, to be honest with you, the used to Barwick, he used to work for both ITV and BBC. Why wasn't he promoting our Rugby League players to
And the
these
other
TV
thing
stations?
is, you only need a day's notice and you'll be there.
Oh, that I Oh yeah.
Someone's dropped out of.
No, but
It's cooking.
it's-
Anyway.
You know, but again, we have a great product, but we just don't use it, do we?
I mean, Tim says it, you know, obviously in your day, playing black and white, it was on proper telly. It's still on the Challenge Cup's still on normal telly. The internationals are on normal telly. We've got to forget this myth that everything was on. The Rugby League was on TV.
But these celebrity programmes are all on normal telly.
Of course they are. Yeah.
I think it'd be good to get some feedback other than #miserable Rugby League. What do our listeners think of Robert Elston's manifesto? We haven't made this up. We've just gone through it and sort of judged it. But do they think that he's delivered on all 13 of his points?
Well, I'll tell you what all fans have been thinking, Phil. Because of the way the season's been, forget about St Helens, but because all the other teams have been close, because of what happened at the bottom of the league, everybody is thinking, tell you what a season we have had in Super League. Well, it's quite simple. Say it's there, and everybody else, because of the inconsistency, what they have played, that's why it's been. It's not been quality Rugby League week in and week out, as it else. No way made. No.
And the season is too long.
You know, I've got to buy into that now.
Less is more. Quality is what we want.
Absolutely, I agree. And that's what the players want as well.
Yes,
of course they do.
When you're talking at the end of the season that Justin Holbrook's praying that they're going to get a week off because they've been playing so much rugby. We don't want that. We want to see that quality that Saints show every week because they're fit and ready and able to do it.
Yeah.
It's only because they had a week off that they felt that they could get back to that level. Well, let's take that on board.
Judging by some of the people you see on these celebrity programmes, though, you could get some people who just recently retired who no one would have ever heard of, and people would still not have heard of them because there's loads of people there no one's ever heard of.
Anybody who's been in reality TV, I've never heard of.
We need to get someone on Big Brother or something. Or, I don't know, Richard Bailey's on something.
We're in the house, he's wearing his dressing gown.
He's even on Big Brother, but...
Tell you what, I want the celebrity Big Brother. How many dressing gowns could I take in there? How long do you for a fortnight?
You'd be selling them to people.
How long in there?
It's about 6 weeks.
You'd be becoming a
I'll tell you
cult.
what. I'll take my dress. Phil, don't be saying you what? Mind your language. I'll take my dressing gown to the jungle. I'll be on the hammock there.
You would.
Do you know what I mean? Take the dressing gown there.
That's your luxury
Sensational. In my speedos. Be absolutely tremendous.
Just going down to the water hole with a dressing gown.
Absolutely. I'll be looking ripped. Do you know what I mean? Sensational.
Tanned.
Get me on there. I want to get that jungle. That's my ambition.
You'd be funny.
I want to.
You would be funny.
That's what, it's on my bucket list. Is the jungle. Get me in there.
You can imagine, can't you? There'd be people going, I've no idea what he's talking about. I can't understand a single word he's saying. We love him.
I don't sound like that, Phil, do I?
Yeah, that was Ant and Dec.
Get on the side of a bus, that's what I need. Elsewhere.
He's got his own bus.
Yeah, I've got my own bus from Castle Leeds. Yeah, I've been on it twice. I've been on it twice. They've charged me.
Luke Gale's on it today.
Is it?
Well, he will
on
be
the
tomorrow.
bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've been on my own bus twice and I've been charged.
I think it's almost time for predictions. But Tom was asking what I meant about Warrington. About only Anthony Gallagher, I don't really see it as this big thing. And I don't think it's... I know everyone gets excited about his social media, but does anyone actually watched the game, either in person or on telly, because Anthony Gallagher's done something on social media? But people get too excited about clicks and views over actual tangible things. No one buys a shirt or anything. On the exciting news, Fufu Moimo might be still playing next year at 41. I don't know if that's... I don't know what that says, actually. I'm not sure.
He's fit. And I'm not going to argue. If he told me he was playing, I wouldn't say.
Well, I tell you what, that just tells me, that you can't tell me up in Cumbria, whether it's in Barrow, whether it's in Whitehaven and Workington, there is not front rowers, second rowers who would love an opportunity to be playing professional rugby league for Workington. I find it, again, it's a journeyman, I find it disgraceful, if I'm honest with you. I find it disgraceful. A 41-year-old turning out for a professional club, which is supposed to be saying as well about a county that is a hotbed of rugby league. Don't buy into it. Not having it.
He was a mere young pup when he played for Tonga against Italy in the Rugby League World Cup of 2013 at Halifax. And you could be wearing a Tonga shirt with £8 off if you...
Very good.
You're alright saying Mark should be on Sky? Get your emails in. I'm not one of those.
Continuity announcement. Perfection.
Those people, dear me. No, yeah, Tonga shirts, £8 off, mascotbrowns.com, using the...
Get one, get it now, get it quick because we're not going to be playing anymore.
Martin Marr.
They're not going to be playing.
Until midnight tonight.
I tell you what, let's just talk about Tonga here for a moment, because I was there in 2017, and I say it's an atmosphere which you'll never ever, I'll never ever witness again, and the people themselves who were there were the same. And when I've read all the fiasco of what has gone on in League Express regarding this fixture with Great Britain, it's absolutely pathetic. It is,
It's typical rugby league.
I was just going to say that. Typical bloody rugby league, isn't it? This test match is supposed to be played in 3 weeks, 4 weeks' time, 26th of October or something. Yeah. It's absolutely bloody ludicrous with what's going on here. Do we not realise what Tonga bring to the international game? Not just with the players who they've got, but the atmosphere, the revenue they bring, and the supporters from there. They're absolutely bonkers about the game.
And if we get Tonga right, we've got a chance of doing similar with Fiji.
And then Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm laughing. I'm thinking.
It's empire building again.
I'm a fixed so-and-so from Bilal, and I'm thinking even I could sort this mess out. Easy. Get them all in one room and say, listen, do you know what's the best thing here? Do you know what the only winner's going to be here? Is Rugby League. It's as simple as that. Rugby League is going to be the winner.
To be fair, is what Nigel has tried to do as CEO of the International Federation.
Well, fair play to him. Fair play to him.
That is exactly what he has tried to do.
Well,
but I think you should have you as his emissary at the side. Going, look, if you're not listening, I'll bang some heads together.
Exactly. That's what to be told, because at the end of the day, Rugby League has got to be the winner here. Nothing else. No egos, none of you. Rugby League is going to be the winner.
If there's going to be money generated, it's not going to you.
It's
going to the game.
Exactly.
It's going to develop the sport in the country.
Correct.
And from what I have picked up from the little bits of information from that other tournament that's going on somewhere else, is the strength of the NRL and the attraction, the pull of the NRL for the likes of people from Samoa and Fiji and Tonga is weakening them.
So we could cash in.
We could. That reminds me, says Tim, is the Kangaroos tour still happening? Yeah, it will do. But we don't know where they're going to be.
Yeah, 12 months away.
Tickets on sale
soon. Oh, the last thing, before I forget, congratulations on Andy Kelly's new job at Huddersfield Giants, head of rugby, which, of all the things that have happened at Bellevue in 1999 onwards, what could have been for only some idiots not accepting. That said, he's probably the best place ever, because the club would have gone into the bin a million times anyway. But yeah, just shows the youngsters coming through the Huddersfield system, show he's obviously a very talented man within the sport. Prediction time.
Yes.
First of all, to break from tradition, I'm not going to ask you to predict the games, I want you to tell me who's going to be in the Women's Super League Grand Final. 2 semi-finals next week. Castlewood versus Wigan and Saints versus Leeds. Now, bear in mind, of course, when we did the Challenge Cup final, we got this horribly wrong. So, who's going to be in the final?
Well, I'm going to Yorkshire. I'm going Leeds Cass.
I do think Castleford will beat Wigan. I think Wigan, by their own admission, have not hit the heights this year that they did last year. They're in a transition phase. Cass have been brilliant, and Cass know that they got through to the Challenge Cup final where they were heavy favourites to win it and couldn't. So that I think they want to go back to a grand final and avenge that. The Saints Leeds one is really interesting. That was one of the games of the season, their cup semi-final that Leeds won very late on with Caitlin Beaver's long range try. I think that result last week by St Helens will give them all the confidence they need, having beaten Castleford. So I am going to go for a Castleford St Helens one, and hope that Danica isn't in.
Castleford are going to be there.
She's playing Danica, is she?
Yeah. She's got a try against Waker the other week. A long distance try as well.
What was it she was described as this week? She's faster than she looks.
Yeah, not as slow as she looks or something.
Yes.
That was by
That was by a team.
that was by Lois. Let me
Oh,
find.
she gets there as quick as what she can. Is that the old saying?
She's faster than she looks. There you go. Followed by another great line by the commentator, but one I'm not going to repeat on there. But go back and watch it on YouTube. Casper will be in the final. Oh,
You'll be getting a text.
I haven't seen Saints enough, but I think that I've thought for a long time it will be a Casper Saints final, and for some reason I think Saints will win it, and that's been even more backed up by yesterday. But Leeds know how to win big games. They've got too many big game players in that side. The fact that Courtney Hill's back is a massive positive for them. The fact that Caitlin Booz was back last week, so I said the week after into Wakefield. This Abby Eatick they've signed from the Army. She's bloody good as well. I'm going to go Cass Saints, but you don't see me Cass Leeds. You know Leeds are going to win the grand final, and that just happened that way. But we know big game teams. You can't write off Leeds apart from the men. NRL Grand Final. It's the battle of Britain versus Australia, because the Sydney Roosters representing Australia, and apparently Canberra Raiders, who've got a couple of English people in there, they represent the whole of us. Sunday morning, is it 9:30 or something?
Yeah.
It won't kick off on time.
It's a 10:30 kick-off. I think they've got all the build.
10:30, there you go. Canberra having beaten South Sydney.
One Republic at the back and playing beforehand.
Yeah, so tune in at 10:30. Canberra beat South Sydney. The Roosters beat the Storm. Who will win? Will it be back-to-back titles for the Roosters? Or
Well, I saw the Roosters play Canberra. I think it's about 5 or 6 weeks ago down at Queanbeyan, and from there, and just total quality. You know, from 1 to 17. I'm not saying the Canberra Raiders aren't their sheer quality, because they are, but I just feel as though they've got the wool over them. The Roosters on Canberra. Great that the British guys are making, you know, all the headlines down under at this moment in time. Certainly John Bateman. You know, as I've mentioned about John before, he's a freak of a rugby league player, and he's taken the NRL by storm. Josh Hodgson, you know, if it wasn't for Cameron Smith, easily the best hooker in the world from there. And Ricky Stewart getting a tune out of all his players, but I just feel as the way the Roosters, Cooper Cronk, his last ever professional games, retiring after this one. We all knew what he did last year, just with one arm. You know, what's going to be like organising this year with 2 arms, fully fit. Want to go out and massify Tedesco. We just look at it in there, best player in the world at this moment in time. Boyd Corker again, the second rowers, but I just feel as though the Roosters a little bit too much quality. Well, Canberra, they've not been there, Phil, for what, 25 years, is it? 25 years, big occasion. I don't think that'll get some, to be honest with you, from there. But the Roosters, for me, too much quality. I'm going to Roosters by 26 points to 10.
I think the interesting thing about this game is that there are parallels with what Canberra have done this year, with everything we've said about Salford and Featherstone. There's a real togetherness about this team, and that it's not about are they the best players in the NRL. They clearly are exceptionally good players, otherwise they wouldn't be in the grand final, but they perhaps wouldn't make a top 13, some of them. But what they've got is a coach that believes in them and has given them a reason and a method and a way of playing that they clearly love. And they've nilled 3 teams this year, which is virtually unheard of in the NRL, which tells you that their defence is bang on. And it is defence that wins the big games. So we've got a great story. We've either got the Roosters going back to back, which hasn't happened since 1993, or we've got Canberra winning it for the first time since 1994. I think you're right. On the big occasions, the class players stand up. And I think we saw Melbourne have lost maybe a couple of world-class players over the last couple of years. And when it got to the point in the game last week against the Roosters where they could have exerted pressure, they got it back to 8-6. They couldn't find the play, which was partly down to the Roosters stifling them and partly down to they might have taken the wrong option. I don't think the Roosters will be fazed by anything that happens on Sunday morning. Whatever type of game it is, they've got the players that can cope with it. They've been there and they've done that. But there's something a bit magical about this Canberra team. And it is the influence that Bateman's had. And he's not going to be fazed by being in a grand final. He's coming off a grand final here. Hodgson, who arguably was a player of the match last week, the fact that they beat the Rabbitohs with a man less for the last 10 minutes and still managed to find a way of holding together, I am going to go with the sentiment. And the Raiders, I think, will win, but this one could be going to Golden Point extra time.
Big call, big call.
I don't watch enough of the NRL, but Sydney played nearly Wakefield's colours. And I used to have a Canberra shirt, the one with Canberra milk on, like a classic
milk,
one,
yeah.
And it got lost in a house move, which I was gutted about because I could probably sell it for a fortune on eBay these days. Josh Hodgson's very good on the telly, by the way, which is proof that, and they started to do it over here, they should use more than just the same old faces. It's interesting to try new voices. And why have the Australians started having 1 million commentators on as well, by the way? Why have they copied us for that one? I ain't got a clue. I'll go for the Raiders by 2. They've got British people in there. They're like, go on. I know, Roosters have got Ryan Hall as well, so you might get a medal on the side. League One, playoff final at a pitch somewhere near a park. Oldham versus Newcastle Thunder.
Yeah, I feel as though they've had a week off Oldham. This could be a game too far for Newcastle. Maybe one game too many. He wants to finish on a high, does Scott there at Oldham? Doesn't he want to put them back in a good position from there? I think this will be quite easy for Oldham, to be honest with you. A decent side. I saw them a few times last year when I was at that rubbish place, Keighley Cougars, to be honest with you, from there. So
the League One Club of the Year.
League One Club of the Year. How disgraceful is that? Anyway, but yeah, Oldham. I think they'll win quite easily. I'm going to go Oldham by 24.
I think Newcastle got a shock when they first started these playoffs. I think they thought they were the team with all the momentum. They went to Oldham and Oldham beat them easily. Doncaster as well, beat them the first time that they played. But I think Newcastle have learnt that, and they were dominant this week. I'm going to go Newcastle by 2.
This is almost the. Have you been on the syrup?
I don't think I've got a prediction right all year.
Have you been on the syrup though?
This is very similar, isn't it, to the game we'll talk about last, because you've got the team who you can imagine they as if there's some kind of shadowy figure at the RFL. They would want in the championship is a Newcastle who are progressive and further expanding the width and breadth of the competition or whatever against Oldham, who are whatever they are. And they've obviously done very well this year because they finished above Newcastle in the table. They've only missed out by 2 points in automatic promotion. I don't know enough about these things, so I'm going to go with Newcastle by 4. It's a bit of a cop out, isn't it? We can't know about everything. Like anyway, got other stuff to do. Ask me about American horse racing instead. Friday night, it is the Betfred Super League preliminary final. I preferred when they called this the Eliminator or whatever it was. It sounded more threatening. Wigan Warriors versus the Salford Red Devils to play St Helens in the grand final next week.
Looking forward to this one. Looking so forward to this one, as we know the Wounded Warrior, exactly what happened to him last week against St Helens. They won't worry about that, as we said earlier in the show from there. And they're the holders. They don't want to let the trophy go quite easily, and they won't do. They won't. This is their part of the season. This is a business end. This is what's in their DNA. And I say they know what it takes to win these big games. But, and you say to me, have you been on the syrup, Scully?
No.
Salford would have learned from 2 weeks ago, from a point of view where, yes, they will be patient, but this time, Salford will be a little bit smarter. I think Ian Watson will come up with a slightly different game plan for some of his players. Jackson Aces won't be changing, Lola here won't be changing, but maybe just some of his forwards a little bit running out wider. They might change from the left to right, but there'll be something else a little bit different for me with Salford on Friday night. It's a great story, and I don't think this story, and I don't think this journey's ending on Friday. I don't. Salford have learned. I mean, Salford, with no pressure, enjoying what they're doing. I'm going Salford to turn Wigan over on Friday, and I'm going Salford by 7.
I think you make a very compelling case, and I don't think anybody who's watched Salford in the playoffs and saw them nil a team this week would know that they are up for this. They've got the constituent parts to trouble Wigan. They could have beaten them a fortnight ago.
Absolutely.
What they didn't do, as we said at the beginning of the programme, was just take the chances when they made them. They made the chances, but they just couldn't take them. I think it would be a great story, and I would love Salford to win, because I think the grand final is desperate for a new name in there. Whether they win it or not is a debate for next week, but I don't think it would do the sport any harm at all for Salford to appear round the corner from where they play. I think there's a lot of narrative there. But you look out the window, it's raining. You look at what Wigan do probably better than any other club at this time of the year, and that is know how to play a game in this time of year, in this weather and in these conditions, and they've got so much experience. You know, you're not going to tell me that Sean O'Loughlin and Tommy Lulai this week isn't reminding them exactly what it is that they need to do. You know, Zach Hardacre has got a huge incentive to play on a stage that he missed out on last time he had the opportunity, and he's been getting better every week. I've just got a feeling that the young Wigan forwards got a lesson last week from St Helens, and that they may have thought they were the finished article and have been reminded that they're not, which will make them come back even more determined this week. I can see this going to the last minute, but I just have a feeling that Wigan will win it by 2 points, because it's what Wigan do.
I'm still getting over the KFC pie in Australia.
$5.
Yeah. It's almost as good as during the last World Cup when the main highlight was the KFC chips, wasn't it?
Chicken as well.
Yeah, there will be one. Old George Williams thinking, yeah, pies, they're there, ready for me when I go to Canberra. I want to tip Salford, but for everything you've just said, Phil, it's all about Wigan in big games. And I've been tipping Wigan to win the grand final for months now, and I said they're going to win it next year. If I tip Salford, is it because I want them to get to the final, because I want to see something different? Because
the fact that you're even debating it tells you that we've got a great game.
When I said I don't want to see Saints win a game, that doesn't mean it won't be a great game, it won't be a great final. It's just we've seen it all before. And sometimes you want to see something new, but it doesn't always happen that way. Nah, I'm going to go with Salford. Let's go with Salford.
Cool.
Jackson Hastings will have a great weekend, because he will lead Salford to the grand final on Friday. It'll be announced as Man of Steel on Sunday, and Salford will win, because I can't split them in Golden Point by 1. What's his name? O'Brien.
He's playing on Saturday now.
He is, because on Saturday night at 7:30 at the Lamport Stadium, in front of all the cardboard cutouts and all the beer garden and a few people in flat caps, Toronto Wolfpack representing the future. They've got somebody cruelly described Featherstone as being a town stuck in the 80s. I think that's a bit harsh. 70s.
What, a bit harsh on the 80s?
Featherstone Rovers at Toronto Wolfpack. A game in which, when you started your career, Scully, you could never have imagined that we'd be talking about Toronto versus Featherstone. But here we are. for a place, a new team in Super League, one of the oldest clubs versus one of the.
Well, I'll tell you what. You asked many of the Featherstone fans and saying you're going to go to Toronto in If you had said to the Featherstone fans when they won the Challenge Cup against Hull back in 1983, and in 2019 you're going to be going to Toronto to qualify for the big league, they would have been thinking you'd been on the sauce. Don't worry about that. But this journey with Featherstone, it started at Leigh, then it went to York, then it went over to France to Toulouse from there, and they're on this journey. And they are enjoying this journey. They're doing it with a smile on their face. There's no pressure on them. All the pressure is on the Wolfpack. And we'll be for sure, Featherstone won't be going there thinking, yeah, look at that team sheet and think, no, we can't beat these. Featherstone won't be lacking in desire. Featherstone won't be lacking in purpose. Featherstone won't be lacking in enthusiasm. They know for 80 minutes, this Toronto side are only human. And if they put pressure on them, can they handle that pressure? The problem is, the quality of what Toronto have got, and certainly as Phil's said a few times this year regarding Brian McDermott, he will be taking all the pressure off these players. They brought in a player as well this year of Toronto in John Wilkin to get him over this step, to get him over that white line. The journey for Featherstone has been brilliant, but I just feel as though the Wolfpack, too much quality, too much experience at this level. Maybe a game too far for Featherstone. I don't think they will get hammered, not one little bit, because they will play for the full 80. But I just feel as though Toronto have got too much quality. And I'll go Toronto by 12.
I think this is where the week off comes in and is an advantage, and that Featherstone's journey has been majestic. Not only have they won away from home, but they've got better every week. I thought the display at Leigh would take some beating, but the dismantling of York and never gave Toulouse a look in this week. They are getting better and better, and I've absolutely no doubt that the more you say to them you can't do something, the more they'll be determined to do it. So flying out on a Thursday for a game, it won't faze them at all. And the way that they've played in the playoffs, they've shown that quality as well. But I've just got a feeling that Toronto might start this game in the way that St Helens started against Wigan this week because of the week off. That they have been priming themselves for this 80 minutes, and they've got two things that work to their advantage. One is, as you say, the Brian McDermott factor, because the one thing he will do, he'll come up with a game plan. He'll have assiduously studied Featherstone, he'll have picked a couple of things, and he will give his team a game plan that might be completely different to the way they've played all this year. But what he'll say is, if you do this for 80 minutes, you'll be successful. The other thing, I think, is the fact that they are carrying the memory of last season. And I don't think they underestimated London in any way whatsoever. And I don't think that you can take anything away from that London performance, because to restrict Toronto to not even score a try when they'd been so free-spirited for much of that season before said everything about London. But it also said that Toronto froze on the day. And I think they will learn from that. They will not be intimidated by the fact that at the end of this 80 minutes is everything that they've been striving for. And because of that, I don't think it's anything to do even with the respective quality of the two teams. I think you can make a case for saying that man for man, Featherstone have got what they need to beat Toronto. I just think that the cards are stacked in Toronto's favour. And I think they'll win, and they'll win by 12, and Featherstone will be cheered off the field by the Toronto fans for their contribution.
What is going to be like in Toronto on Saturday night? Brian McDermott's the big thing, isn't it? Well, it's going to be sunny. 13 degrees, no snow, that's the good news. Brian McDermott knows how to win big games, because he won all them with Leeds. So it's a tricky one for Featherstone, isn't it? Because obviously they want to go up, obviously they want to win. But if they're in the Championship next year, they still have a Joe Reg with Leeds. They still have access to those players and whatever.
And they don't have Toronto in the division, so they've got actually more chance of getting promoted next year.
I can think of at least two Super League clubs who would love Featherstone to be in the division next year. For the fans they bring to the fixtures. Might mean different fixtures on there. Good Friday as well. Bring back Wakefield and Fair. Well, I don't think it's going to happen, because Toronto have been geared up, knowing that they would be in this game all season. And unfortunately for Featherstone, it will end here. Toronto by 12.
We've all gone the same.
All
Toronto
dreams
by
die.
12, eh?
Oh, see all the optimism that
But
Featherstone
again,
are back.
but again, if Featherstone win, it's
Oh,
a great
brilliant.
story.
Oh,
for the
absolutely. Absolutely.
And they can't lose, can they? Whether they win or lose at the weekend, they can't lose.
That's why I say they'll get cheered off, because I think the Toronto fans, in the euphoria of their team celebrating, will acknowledge the contribution that Featherstone have made and will take them to their hearts.
And as
They
someone else,
won't be buying a drink all weekend.
as someone described it, this is the play-off to play Wakefield in the first game of the season next season, because that's always.
The other interesting thing, which we'll talk about next week when we know the result, because it's immaterial until we do, is where will Toronto play some of their early season games if they're in Super League next year? Will we be going to Barcelona? Will we be going to Copenhagen? Will we be going to Amsterdam? Because they're talking about going on the road.
Dublin, Rotterdam.
Well, it'd be interesting. It's there's no point talking about it till you know if they've achieved it, but it changes the dynamic a little bit of what Super League might look like.
Well, there's a great thing about it, fellas. We're on the road next week ourselves, so we'll see you all in Castleford next week.
Well, we're here first, and then
Oh, we're here Monday.
we're here Monday.
Oh, we're here. Oh, we've got two shows, haven't we?
Yeah, well, yeah, by
Oh.
popular demand.
All right. So we do. All right. So it's Monday and Tuesday.
The
All
Tuesday
right.
show,
Double bubble.
we won't.
Oh, so it's a big question. It's a question answer that Cass, is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Right.
we'll
Okay.
record
We're not
it,
doing the
so-
show from there,
Well,
right?
people,
Got you.
people are asking, we're here on Monday, but on Tuesday we'll record it and put it out as a special, but we won't be live. So,
But come on and
But
ask
yeah.
us the question. You know, berate us for how rubbish we are at forecasting.
What do you mean, berators? Just tell us how good we are.
and if,
Oh,
we're,
first.
Eh?
and if it's post production, I can edit out all the answers we don't want to get out there. So you can ask us all those questions you're always wanting to ask.
Yeah, great stuff, yeah.
I'll just get somebody else to answer them.
Look forward to seeing you next week in Cass then.
Hopefully the French air traffic controller off strike next week in March. But I mean, he's got to get back from Toronto, hasn't he? It's not good.
No, if he's gone.
The Canadians like us though, don't they? See you next week, everybody.
Tim